Today is a Cazimi and tomorrow is a full moon, which means that massive breakthroughs and realizations are going to lead to the creation of breathing room. But it's really important that we don't necessarily burn bridges or completely blow things out of the water unless, of course, you absolutely have to. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to give a general overview to give you an idea of what to expect from the quality of time right now. We've got a peak in energy that is really coming together this weekend, and then it starts to kind of wind down over the next couple of weeks. I've got timestamps below, detailed horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. You're going to want to stick around and hear this general overview though. Chapters will be in the description box there. So let's jump in. In case you've already noticed, you've probably already noticed, there's been quite a bit of building tension over the last few days. We've got Mercury Retrograde. Mercury has gone back into Leo. There is a huge change in energy where we're kind of taking one step forward and two steps backwards. And everybody in the collective is becoming almost possessed, I want to say, with a desire for freedom, and the level to which you are experiencing restrictions or burdens or stress is going to be very proportional to the amount of energy that you want to push back with. This full moon in Aquarius tomorrow is the peak of this Leo energy because we are in Leo season, even though it's almost about to wrap up. And the full moon in Aquarius means that the sun is in Leo, the moon is in Aquarius, and we have this intensity building, especially in the context of me versus the collective. So when the sun is in Leo, there's a big focus on our identity, who we consider ourselves to be. And when the moon is in Aquarius, there's a sense of our emotions are being invited to get a bigger picture instead of being so centered in who we are, what we think, what we believe, how we personally perceive everything around us. It's very easy to become a certain level of self-centered during Leo season, but every zodiac sign invites us to grow in a certain way. And so during Leo season, because Leo is associated with pride, ego, and identity, everybody needs the opportunity to kind of focus on really important questions such as, who am I? Am I walking an elevated high path for myself? And is this path going to lead to my life getting better, for example? And so during this very me-focused season that we have in Leo season, a lot of the realizations that we're having right now are centered around lack, conflict, or the realization that we're not necessarily on the path that we want to be on. The Mercury retrograde that we're already in the middle of, and I got to get my glasses so I make sure to cover all these notes. Mercury started retrograde in the sign of Virgo. Mercury is at home in Virgo. And when the Mercury retrograde started, there was a sense of rethinking, am I healthy? Are my connections healthy? And are my choices leading to a healthy future? But when Mercury kept going backwards, it moved out of Virgo and into Leo. And that's when kind of the situation flips, where we have done enough evaluation. We have overanalyzed, we have picked things apart, we've thought about all the details and all the components in every situation that we're dealing with. And Mercury moving back into Leo is an invitation to go, okay, I have enough evidence, I have done enough thinking about this subject. Now I am going to really stand up for myself, whether it be advocating for myself, having a really important conversation, or maybe starting to push back against the things that I don't necessarily want in my life. Now, the big dominant astrological energy, I want to show you what the full moon chart looks like for tomorrow. So I did mention this in my last horoscopes. 2 weeks ago with the new moon, we were looking at kind of like a calm before the storm is how I put it. And the reason I said that is because the astrological influences 2 weeks ago were perfect for getting a clear vision of where we're at, what we want, and what steps will help us get there. And it's really nice to have those moments of clarity, like I was saying, especially before things get really stressful, because this is the energy that we're dealing with right now. When you create birth charts, especially on astro.com, they do a handy dandy color coding system. And as of course we see all these big red triangles, as you can assume, that red indicates a high level of conflict. In 2 weeks from now, at the end of August, we're actually going to have this blue figure and this kite figure. All these blue lines indicate really harmonious aspects. So if we can just get past the conflict and the challenging energy of right now, we will get to a place where, as this kite figure suggests, we will get elevated, we'll be able to see the bigger picture again, and we're going to start to get movement. But right here, right now, it's kind of like having a flat tire and wanting to get somewhere. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with a flat tire before, but it's always the kind of thing where it's not necessarily straightforward, right? If you are driving a vehicle and you get a flat tire, yes, of course, the process of fixing it might be straightforward, but what happens first? Big emotions. And the big emotions around, you know, damn it, do I even have a spare tire? Do I know how to fix a tire? There's a lot of emotions around having a metaphorical flat tire in life. So that's where we're at right now, is that this peak of energy has been built up and built up as we are going through Mercury retrograde. We're thinking about our lives. We're evaluating whether or not we are on a healthy path at all. And so it's been build up, a build up, a build up, and then this peak where all of a sudden it's this experience, like a metaphor of having a flat tire. Like, everybody is going to have some sort of sense of, here's where I am right now and here's where I want to be in the future, right? The flat tire energy of this full moon is like, I want to go, I want to do things, I want to accomplish things, but damn it, I have a flat tire, right? So if you have, and I'm going to keep working with this flat tire metaphor because it helps people understand. I know astrology can be really complex and I want to make it simple. So the flat tire analogy, if you're thinking about your life like a road trip and you've got a flat tire, the emotions around feeling stuck, being late, being off schedule, having an unexpected problem, the emotions around that are the biggest obstacle. But the blessing of having this full moon in Aquarius tomorrow means that even though we're shining a light on the sun in Leo, we're shining a light on our personal experience, the blessing is that the moon in Aquarius offers us an opportunity to have a certain level of emotional detachment. A reason for that is that the moon represents our emotions, and Aquarius is the zodiac sign known as the water bearer. So water is the element linked with emotions, and Aquarius, I'm just going to use my candle here, Aquarius is a figure that is holding a pitcher of water outside, away from their body. And so the energy of the zodiac sign Aquarius is, okay, I can take these emotions out of myself and I'm going to look at them. I can get a little bit of separation so that I can identify with clarity and understanding what exactly is it that's making me feel upset? What are these emotions? And then, of course, the most important part, what can I do about it? So within this full moon energy that we're starting to feel, today is Sunday, it peaks on Monday, the full moon is on Monday, and it's in the afternoon, so it's kind of in the middle of the day. This full moon energy is going to have a lot of power behind it because you're going to feel very, very strongly about Sun and Leo. This is my personal experience, but also you hopefully, as much as possible, will be able to tap into, okay, I would like to be able to see my situation with a little bit of objectivity. Objectivity is to be able to separate yourself instead of feeling so deeply involved. So that in itself is a blessing. Now I want to talk about the particular astrology of these two red triangles. In construction, there's a triangular shaped tool. It's called a T-square. It's a triangle. It bugs the heck out of me to call it a square when it's a triangle, but that's what we've got here. These red triangles in astrology are known as T-squares. And what we have in a T-square is a triangle in which there's an opposition, two planets on opposite sides of each other, and then what's called the apex, which is the opposite corner. Now these two triangles we have in here, I drew them out on a piece of paper. We're going to talk about the first one is the sun opposite the moon, and that's the full moon that we have right now. And then Uranus on the apex corner. Now, the full moon creating one of these T-squares, one of these triangles, like I said, the moon and the sun are opposite. And they create a sense of polarization. Like I was saying, this is my personal life experience, sun in Leo. These are my emotions around the situation, moon in Aquarius. And they create this polarization that feels almost like, okay, I have to choose one or the other. I can either lean into my personal experience, or I can be objective and get an outside perspective, see the bigger picture. But it feels like we can't necessarily have both. The apex corner in this T-square is Uranus, and Uranus represents change, upheaval, evolution if we are steering the boat with the upheaval and change, or crisis and breakdowns if we are resistant to change. So what we see is that in this dynamic, energetic opposition between the sun and the moon, we have an opportunity to create lasting, profound change in our lives if we align with evolution, if we walk our highest path, if we are able to separate ourselves from the overwhelming emotions that we have. That is how we're going to manifest constructive, healthy change. But the thing is, if we get locked into that opposition and we don't take advantage of Uranus's energy, then that's when change kind of happens to us. So for example, if you approach with too much emotion or too much ego, then you will likely experience the negative aspects of Uranus, which is getting into an argument, blowing something out of the water, burning bridges, breakups, breakdowns, crisis. Every time all of a sudden it popped into my head, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer blended crisis and opportunity, and I feel like it was because he was drawing it from a Japanese word, but anyway, he said Crisi-tutity. So even when I'm talking about heavy stuff, I'm going to make some jokes and lighten the mood. You know, if you can think of a Crisi-tutity, that's kind of what's happening, right? A crisis often leads to an opportunity. When we don't take advantage of an opportunity, sometimes what follows is some sort of a crisis. That's really the energy here, and what makes things really complicated is that with the sun is Mercury retrograde in the exact same spot, and the asteroid Vesta. I want to show you that. This cluster here, this is the sun in Leo, this is Mercury retrograde, and this is asteroid Vesta. Okay, so the asteroid Vesta is named after the Vestal Virgins in Roman mythology. It was their role to be the flame keepers. It was these sacred women who took care of the temples. They passed down ancient knowledge. They were keepers of the flame, keepers of the traditions and knowledge and all these different things. It was a very special role. So in astrology, when we see Vesta in a chart, what it indicates is an opportunity to develop ourselves in the highest possible way, either through spiritual development or simply self-betterment or just, you know, walking our highest path. It is the aspect of devoting ourselves to doing better. When we know better, we do better. It is opportunities to stay open to new information, open to new perspectives, open to seeing things outside of our own perspective, instead of getting so locked into, I feel this, Yes, your feelings are valid. Your feelings will always be valid. But the risk here is making rash decisions or taking action that is destructive, either to ourselves or other people. That's the risk, because big emotions often lead human beings to take action that is not well thought out. So that's the risk here. And what makes it even more risky is that this T-square involving the sun and Mercury, Uranus and the moon, it is a T-square that is in fixed signs. So in the zodiac, there's 3 types of signs. There's cardinal signs. They're the ones that start a season, like Aries starts spring. There's fixed signs. Those are the ones that are in the middle of a season, like Taurus or Leo. And then mutable signs, which are ones that end a season. So this T-square involving the Sun and Mercury, Uranus and the Moon, it is in fixed signs, which means that the risk here is being too locked in to what we think, what we believe, what we want. Again, your feelings are valid, but there has to be room for considering or being open to other people's perspectives or other ways of living our lives or other potential decisions that we could make, right? So if we are too fixed in our ways, we are going to lose this opportunity or potentially make life harder for ourselves. The really cool thing is that the other T-square happening involves Venus in Virgo, Mars and Jupiter conjunct in Gemini, and Saturn in Pisces. Now, Saturn is retrograde, and it happens to be with an asteroid, Nessus, which is also retrograde. Nessus has a very rough story. Nessus is an asteroid associated with obsessive behavior. It's actually named after a character from mythology who was struggling with unrequited love. He was in love with a woman who was actually married, and when the woman turned him down, he murdered the woman's husband and her. It's this crazy story. So anyway, Saturn is a planet of seriousness, but also kind of doing things the same way for a really long period of time. In the sign of Pisces, both Saturn and Nessus suggest self-destructive behaviors or behaviors that are obsessive, keep us locked into lower vibrations, and ultimately are destructive either to ourselves or other people. So, a little bit of a story here. When we have this T-square, what we have again is a very strong opposition. This time it's between Venus and Saturn. Venus is in Virgo, encouraging us to manifest lives that are thoughtful, focused on details, potentially in service to other people, but all in all, healthy as we can possibly be. Venus refers to trust and comfort within the context of relationships, but also in the context of what we manifest in our lives. So this opposition between Venus in Virgo and Saturn in Pisces means that we are going to feel this really strong opposition where it's like, okay, in life or in love, I want to be a healthy person. I want to have healthy relationships. This is Venus in Virgo. I want to have healthy relationships. I want to manifest things to the best of my ability. And I want to do so by walking my highest path. But Venus opposite Saturn, conjunct with Nessus, hints at the ways in which we sabotage our own success, the ways in which we get in our own way, the ways in which maybe we spin or obsess in unhealthy ways. And because they're both in Pisces, there's also a theme of avoidance, avoiding responsibility, avoiding the truth, avoiding confrontation, and therefore perpetuating unhealthy situations. So in this T-square, we have healthy choices versus unhealthy choices. And then the apex, again, kind of like the deciding factor in this T-square, is Mars conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, which is actually a really, really, really special conjunction that only happens every 2 years. Mars represents taking action. Jupiter represents what we believe. And Gemini asks us, invites us to rethink all possible perspectives. So again, we see a theme here of, I want to take action, but I'm pausing and reflecting because I want to make sure that it's not the same mistakes I always make. I want to pause and reflect and make sure that I'm not getting in my own way with outdated belief systems or behaviors that are going to ultimately sink my own ship. So this T-square, interestingly, is in mutable signs. Venus in Virgo, Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, and then Saturn and Nessus in Pisces. Those are all in mutable signs, which means that if we are willing to adapt, if we are willing to compromise, adapt, negotiate, be less rigid in our approach or in our thinking, especially if we can be less rigid, then that is where we will open our eyes to the ways in which we are perhaps our own worst enemy, or the ways in which we are avoiding dealing with the big issues that if we deal with them, everything else would fall into line. 99% of the time we are our own worst enemies. 99% of the time when we are focusing on self-development, the hardest realizations we have are the ones in which we admit that we are the ones causing problems or perpetuating problems or things like that, right? So for some people, it's going to be realizing that you're stuck in a relationship or stuck in your own ways or stuck in some aspect in your life. Those are the realizations, because this fixed T-square involving Mercury retrograde, the Sun and Vesta, Moon and Uranus, this fixed T-square is the catalyst for change. It's going, oh my goodness, am I fixed in my ways? Or am I dealing with other people that are fixed in their ways? Realizing that we're up against a brick wall is the first step. The second step is, can I go around this? It's approaching with curiosity. How can I potentially deal with this in a different way instead of trying to blast through a brick wall like the Kool-Aid man, right? And it is by being adaptable. It is by being willing to look at a situation differently that we find the keys to unlock our situation, or we find an avenue around whatever brick wall we are experiencing. So when I was saying 2 weeks ago that there's a big risk around this period of time right now, it's because if people get too locked in, this fixed T-square can lend an energy of really locking things in, doubling down, being fully resistant to change. And so again, it really comes down to, are you willing to be self-aware? Are you willing to be humble in your assessment of yourself and other people? Anyone we encounter that is so locked into what they think and what they believe, they are going to be unmovable forces. And I want to just warn you, it's just not worth it. Don't engage, right? There are going to be other situations in which we are going to find opportunities to either, some people will be open to conversation. But like I said, if you come up against an unmovable brick wall, don't waste your time trying to convince the brick wall to see things the way that you see them. It's not going to happen. That's just the energy right now. But if we focus on healthy habits, if we focus on loving ourselves unconditionally, sometimes loving ourselves unconditionally means setting a boundary and not engaging with these situations, not wasting our time with people who are bound and determined to misunderstand us, right? If we are willing to evolve personally and professionally, if we are willing to move past the limitations of our egos, if we are willing to be aware of self-destructive or self-sabotaging behavior or obsessive behavior, that is where we will find the keys to unlock all of the things that we're trying to figure out. So on that note, if you for any reason feel as though you just can't understand your situation, or feel as though you just can't understand the obstacles or the patterns that are happening for you, taking your emotions out of the equation are going to help you see it better. That's the Moon in Aquarius energy. See as much as you can, take your emotions, take your personal feelings out of the situation. And if you are unable to do so, if you're unable to have an objective perspective, maybe asking someone who you consider to be very wise or very thoughtful, or you know what I mean? Getting an outside perspective is really going to help. But the biggest obstacle right now is going to be people locked into their perspectives and locked into their emotions. And I'm sorry, pardon me, my eyes have been watering like crazy lately. I don't know about you guys, but my allergies have been nuts. So pardon me with my little tissue here. Okay, so We start this 2-week period with the full moon in Aquarius, which, as I have just explained, is dominated by a very, very, very stressful energy. However, just like any other period of time, if we can just get past this peak of energy, then on the other side of it is an opportunity to kind of rethink your identity, to embrace spiritual purification. If you can ask, how am I stuck and what can be changed? That's where you're going to find your exit door. This could be a time of profound breakthroughs. One of the things that I mentioned in my last astrology report was this helper trine between Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. This is going to be with us for quite some time because the 3 planets involved move quite slowly. That helper trine means that this is a profound period of immense possibility to embrace personal evolution and to get past some of these really sticky issues that are happening for us personally or professionally. But again, humble honesty, humble self-assessment is going to be the best way to get through. And it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, taking responsibility for everything that's happening, but it does mean taking responsibility for anything that's within your control. Power and control is definitely one of the biggest themes right now. And I just want to remind you guys of the Serenity prayer. You don't have to be religious, just hear me out. The Serenity prayer goes, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, other people, the courage to change the things I can, myself, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, you don't have to believe in God to be able to say that prayer, but that prayer is so essential to remember. We can only change ourselves. We can only change how much we interact, how much we engage, or anything like that. We legit can't change other people. Sometimes people are open to hearing other perspectives, but right here, right now, quite unlikely that people are going to want to hear another perspective. So again, as much as you can, just focus in on yourself. And then at the end of this 2-week period, towards the end of August, this is where we start to see some relief with those challenging energies. We have a grand trine involving Venus, Uranus, and Pluto. So again, if we are willing to focus on being the best versions of ourselves, take responsibility for what we can, change what we can, that is where we will find a pathway to personal evolution and personal empowerment. But again, the key here is do not fight with a brick wall. You're going to waste your time, right? Personal empowerment sometimes means going, see you later, bye, and walking away. Of course, that's not always possible, but as much as we can, if we walk away from brick walls, that is going to be the pathway to breakthrough in this particular situation. So, my friends, I'm going to kind of organize my notes here. Yeah, okay. One of the biggest things is try as much as you can to avoid short-sighted action that is based on or catalyzed by emotional stress. Being stressed out, being emotional, being frustrated, being upset, your feelings are valid. But the tricky part is making sure that the action we take is still aligned with our highest path and aligned with being honorable and respectful as much as possible, right? There is a very, very high likelihood of justifying unkind behavior. And so if we justify unkind behavior by saying, well, I was really mad or that person deserved it, we end up stuck in a karmic loop because we are unwilling to see ourselves for who we truly are. So that's a big risk here. As much as you can, try and handle pressure with patience and confidence. Decisions made on impulse may bring short-term relief. Decisions made on impulse may bring short-term relief, but in the long term, they will lead to new problems, new karmic difficulties. If you can just get past this week, things will become very, very, very clear for you. Like I said, we are starting, today is Sunday, August 18th. We are starting with a Cazimi. A Cazimi is when the sun is in the same spot as another planet. And today it is the sun and Mercury that are in the same spot. They are in the same spot at the very end of Leo, indicating that there's a huge risk of intertwining. The sun is, this is my identity, and Mercury is, this is what I think. And so in a Sun-Mercury Cazimi, that means I am what I think. And that way, that leads to problems, because if somebody says, well, I don't think the same thing as you, then you're more likely to feel like somebody is personally attacking you. Maybe to feel as though your existence is at stake, or someone is challenging who you are as a being. And that's why it's so important to separate, okay, I am who I am, and what I think is going to potentially change or evolve over time. If you link the two together too much, you're going to set yourself up for huge, huge challenges. So on that note, with the Sun and Mercury in Cazimi today, it is a great opportunity to experience personal breakthroughs. If you're seeking understanding, if you're seeking new information, holy smokes, you will find it if you want, if you're open-minded. But if you end up in an argument with somebody, if you end up in a battle of wills, arguing about philosophy or theology or political beliefs, it's going to be a brick wall situation, and you might get really, really upset in the process, simply because people are just so locked into what they believe right now. But like I said, this too shall pass. It's just not the best moment to have big heated conversations with people right now. There's a very high likelihood of them going sideways. Monday, August 19th, we do have the full moon in Aquarius, which is an amazing opportunity to get an objective perspective of your situation with less emotional entanglement than you usually would have. Venus is square Jupiter, which is actually a really positive aspect, simply because it is going to help us open up our hearts and align with generosity, patience, understanding, and kindness. It's an energy of being compassionate, but that compassion is also being tested because Jupiter is square Saturn today. Jupiter square Saturn, again, does not happen very often, only every few years. And I'm going to say like 5-ish years. So it's pretty rare. And for Jupiter to be square Saturn, that means my belief systems are coming up against that which already is. Saturn represents systems or belief systems in place. Jupiter represents new, more, expansion, growing, learning. When our desire to learn or our desire to expand or be free comes up against systems in place or structures in place, it can lead to despair, or it can lead to huge breakthroughs if we don't give up. But again, this is where I want to remind you of the Serenity prayer. You can only change yourself. It is very hard to change what other people think. So the best way to embrace this energy is to move like water. Ask yourself, what can I personally do to be an evolved human being? What can I personally do to change my choices or change how much I get sucked into drama or whatever it is for you? And then Wednesday, we kind of come down off of this full moon high. The energy starts to drop a little bit. The moon moves into Pisces, so you may feel by Wednesday just kind of like, okay, I just don't even want to deal with people. The energy this weekend is very confrontational, but by the middle of the week, it's like, nope, talk to the hand. And then Thursday, the sun moves into Virgo. So a huge energetic shift coming out of Leo season. Leo season is like, woo, it's very showboaty. It's very, this is what I think and this is what I believe, and it's performances and confrontation, right? And then when the sun moves into Virgo, it's like, it's an earth sign. So the energy just grounds right out. It's going to be easier to pick your battles. It's going to be easier to be like, whatever, I'm not doing this right now. It's going to be easier to make healthy choices. It's going to be easier to align with your highest path. That is starting August 22nd. That's a Thursday. Venus does square Mars. So there's a huge shift by Thursday of being like, whatever, I'm going to do it by myself, for example, or I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to follow the path that I know I need to, or I'm going to make the choices that I need to, whatever. Either come with me or stay. I really don't care, but the train's leaving the station. Virgo is associated with the tarot card, the Hermit. So during Virgo season, you are more likely to keep to yourself, be self-sufficient, make healthy choices regardless of whether or not anybody agrees with you or validates you. It's going to be easier to just focus on being the best version of yourself. And which is a huge difference compared to Leo season, when we're like, okay, I want my crew with me. I want people to see me. I want to make sure that everything I'm doing shows on the outside, right? In Leo season, we are showy, but in Virgo season, starting Thursday the 22nd, we are more focused on growing. It's not about showing, it's about growing. Saturday the 24th, Mercury Retrograde forms a very supportive angle to Mars, indicating again, if you just keep thinking your own thoughts. You know what I mean? Like sometimes conversations with people just go sideways and end up being really confusing. So if you really embrace this hermit energy, if you think your own thoughts, you come to your own conclusions, separate your emotions out of the equation, and be really humble and really honest with yourself about what is the healthiest choice in this situation. By Saturday the 24th, when Mercury retrograde forms a sextile to Mars, it's going to be like, I know what I need to do. I get it now. I totally get it now. But not in the kind of way where you're going to like fight your way through. You're like, I get it. I'm going to do this quietly. I'm going to be like a ninja in my own life, and I'm going to make change happen without necessarily announcing it. Tuesday, August 27th is when we start to see this kite energy. So like I was saying, as we get to the end of August, we start to have a much more peaceful, like a grand trine here indicates things flowing smoothly. And because it involves Venus, Uranus, and Pluto, again, like I was saying, that's the path of, okay, I love myself. I am not going to engage in power struggles, and I'm going to evolve by walking my highest path by myself and for myself. If somebody wants to come, awesome, but I'm not going to drag anybody with me. I'm going to do this because I know that I need to do this. Wednesday, August 28th, Mercury goes direct. So that is where we take the realizations of the 24th and 27th and go, oh, I get it. I know what I need to do. And then by the 28th, when Mercury goes direct, we will have a new plan moving forwards that involves being more self-sufficient with our healthy choices and with our emotional health as well. On the same day, Venus forms an opposition to Neptune, indicating by locking in your awareness, in your heart, in your mind, by locking into, these are my ideals. Not necessarily like specifics, like my ideal is driving a certain car or being with a certain person, no. My ideals are being happy, being peaceful, being healthy, being productive. If you aim for ideals like that, then it will be easier to find the appropriate steps to get you there. So again, don't lock into a specific person necessarily. Don't lock into a specific way that you want reality to play out. Just lock into an ideal as far as an emotion, a vibration, or an energy. I want to feel peaceful. And then that way it leaves it open to making any micro adjustments as needed as you aim for simply being peaceful. I hope that makes sense. So, and then on the same day that Mercury goes direct, the moon moves into Cancer, helping us kind of return to our heart space in a really sensitive and gentle kind of way. Again, it's a very reclusive energy. I don't need anybody to be on this train with me. I'm doing this for myself because I know that this is the healthiest thing for me. And then by the end of August, Thursday the 29th, Venus moves into Libra and forms a really supportive angle to Pluto. So when Venus moves into Libra, Venus is one of the, Venus rules two zodiac signs, Taurus and Libra. So Venus is a planetary ruler for Libra. It is considered to be at home. And so when Venus moves into Libra at the end of the month, It is an opportunity to return to our personal and professional relationships with a new healthy attitude, a new idea of what our ideals are, and a new willingness to make any necessary choices, any hard choices, to keep ourselves in alignment, to be able to walk a healthy path, whether we're alone or interacting with other people. So when Venus moves into Libra and forms a trine with Pluto, we're going to be returning to our relationships, personal and professional, with a new healthy, upgraded version of ourselves and a new willingness to work towards balance with other people in a way that is not obsessive, not self-sabotaging, not avoiding the real issues, like really, really, really being present here and now with great love. Okay, so I am going to jump into the detailed horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. These are written for sun signs and rising signs. If you know your rising sign, I would definitely encourage you to watch that one first. If you don't know your rising sign, that's totally fine. Watch your sun sign. And if you ever want to know what your rising sign is, it is based on birth time. If you would like help figuring that out, you feel free to reach out to me and I can steer you in the right direction, or you can go to astro.com. That is the website that I use to create these beautiful, colorful charts. And there's a lot of free stuff on that website. Love that website so much. Okay, I'm going to jump in and we will start looking at the horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. And yes, okay. Okay, quick little break. I'm back now. There is definitely a whole lot to talk about this week, which is why this is for 2 weeks, which is why I have 2 full pages here. We are looking at the Cazimi, the full moon, the 2 T-squares, and then Venus moving into Libra and Mercury direct. Okay. Starting with Aries, I'm gonna get my timer set up here. Aries sun and Aries rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are starting with a sun and Mercury Cazimi. And a Cazimi is when the sun is in the same place as another planet. Cazimi is actually from an Arabic word that refers to burning up or being in the heart of the flame, heart of the sun. And that's because if we're standing on Earth and we're looking at, the sun and a planet is in front of it, it's almost like we can't even see the planet. And so the significance of that when the planet is Mercury being burned up by the sun is that it's almost like your sense of self overwhelms your logical thought. It is harder to think straight and it's harder to separate who you are from what you think. They're kind of intertwined. So if you have to stand up for yourself, if you have to advocate for yourself, the beginning of the week is going to be profoundly intense. Anytime that you have to, whether it be like personal or professional, if you have to stand up for yourself or advocate for yourself in any way, this is the perfect time to do it. However, because the Sun Mercury Cazimi forms a square to Uranus in your second house, there is a risk of basically being too absorbed in your perspective that you actually work against your own interests. The square formed by the Cazimi against Uranus in your second house indicates that you are being invited to evolve and grow according to your values. There is a chance that being too stuck in your ways is actually going to be an expression of something that you can't stand. So for example, you may look at other people and be like, oh, I can't stand it when people are closed-minded. I can't stand it when people are like know-it-alls and stuff like that. There's a risk of you being exactly that at the beginning of this week. So just kind of keep that in mind, that your perspective is going to be quite clouded Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So please do, if you end up in a battle of wills with somebody, give yourself a second to think before you respond, because there's a likelihood that you might be belligerent or rude or just kind of stuck in ego without even realizing it, just because of the emotions. But thankfully, that is a very short-lived influence. What happens on Monday is that we have a full moon in Aquarius. So that is your 11th house. A full moon is a time of peak accomplishments or peak understandings. The moon is very bright in our sky, so there's a sense that our intuition or our awareness has been lit up. It's been illuminated so that we can see better. For it to happen in your 11th house in Aquarius is going to help you see better themes of being creative, themes of living your best life or doing something meaningful with your life, and also potentially interacting with the world in a new way, interacting with your community in a new way. It could be through charity work or philanthropy or simply just being generous to somebody. So there's an opportunity for you to kind of come out of being a little bit self-absorbed and all of a sudden find something really amazing that you can do for somebody else. Sometimes these things are really, really helpful, especially if we're stuck in some sort of a pity party or like, things always suck, nobody appreciates me, stuff like that. To be able to step out of our perspective and maybe work at a food bank or a soup kitchen or something like that, all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Everything that I'm struggling with are like first world problems. And there are so many people out there that don't even have the basic necessities of life, right? And I'm not trying to call you egotistical. Every single human being ever goes through those periods where we're like, oh, poor me, yada, yada. But what we're seeing here is an opportunity for you to actually shift that really quickly. So if in the past it's been easy for you to get stuck in the emotions of pity or feeling, you know, sad about whatever you're dealing with, this is an awesome opportunity to actually bounce back way quicker than you usually do. And the avenue to exiting those overwhelming feelings is going to be through either art or music or charity or simply just getting out into the world and kind of shaking off whatever it is that you're dealing with. Now, the T-square that I was talking about in the general overview, if you didn't see the general overview, definitely go check it out. One of the things I was covering is a T-square, which involves Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, which is in your 3rd house. So there's an opportunity for you to think differently, speak differently, and in doing so, change your entire path moving forwards. If we can change our mind, we can change our lives. I believe that's a quote from Louise Hay. Basically what's happening is that in your day-to-day life, you want more than anything for certain things to shift. It feels like you've been struggling against some sort of unmovable or insurmountable obstacle. And a big part of what you're dealing with is the realization of like, well, in a lot of ways, this is just life. I have to deal with it, right? But in your subconscious, in your higher mind, you're having a really hard time sucking it up because you're like, I deal with so much stuff. I have to suck up so much stuff. I can't just whatever, another issue, right? But what's shifting for you, the opportunity for change, is if you can change how you think about things, it'll make your burden feel less of a big deal. One thing I personally noticed is that in my spare time, maybe I'm taking the dog for a walk or something like that, what I find myself doing on autopilot is listing all the crap that I have to deal with. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I gotta call this person back. Oh, I have to finish this work. Yada, 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 yada. When I make that list, it's like the list is made out of stone and it sits on me. It makes me feel heavy and overwhelmed. And I do it to myself by listing all the stuff that's stressing me out. Whereas if I change my mind, I change my life. If instead of listing all the shit that I have to do, I'm like, oh, I'm walking my dog. Look at these trees. Listen to those birds. It doesn't mean I'm ignoring my responsibilities. It simply means that I am not going to fill up every single spare minute that I have thinking about the things that stress me out, right? One thing that helps is maybe if you feel really overwhelmed, set a timer for 20 minutes. Take 20 minutes to write down all the stuff that's bothering you, put it on a piece of paper, and when the timer's done, you can say, okay, brain, we're done thinking about this. Time to move on. And at least if your brain is like, that's okay, I wrote it down, I'm good now, then you can genuinely let it go. So again, I'm not saying avoid your problems, but if you can change how you think about your problems, it will change your entire vibe across the board. Now, when the sun moves into Virgo, it's going to move into your 6th house of health, daily habits, routines, and work. So by August 22nd, there is an opportunity to, change your mind, change your life, and bring a much more healthy attitude into your daily life. You could be either just sorting out your headspace, or you could be maybe embracing some sort of new healthy habit that's going to help you start your day off right. You know, starting your day with a protein-packed smoothie is going to help it so that you don't have a burnout crash around noon. I am equally guilty of just drinking coffee all morning, but I had to set a rule for myself. After 2 coffees, I need a huge glass of water and I need a smoothie. So that's the Virgo energy, is like set up a routine for yourself. Make sure that routine is aligned with some healthy choices, and be mindful of the details, right? Be mindful of the ways in which you make yourself miserable. For example, when the sun moves into Virgo, it's going to be a huge boost to your ability to be diligent and practical with your approach, to follow through on some of these resolutions you might be setting for yourself, and to feel good about the choices that you're making as well. Also around August 22nd, we have a challenging connection where the sun is going to kind of be creating a bit of interference with Pluto and Neptune. Now, Pluto and Neptune are in a really good alignment right now, connecting all your dreams and ideals to the headspace that you're in the middle of clearing out, right? But when the sun moves into Virgo in your 6th house, you may have moments of being like, okay, I've got these lofty ideals, but I just don't have the energy to follow through every single day, right? Aim for the best you can do, but steer clear of aiming for perfection. That's a risk of Virgo season, is that we aim for doing something perfectly. And it's important you just take tiptoeing baby steps towards the goals that you have. If one day you just can't pull it off, don't worry about it. Try again the next day, right? The less rigid you are in your expectations for yourself, the more likely you are to be successful in all that you do. Venus forms a square to Mars on August 22nd as well, meaning that, like I keep saying, the biggest factor that is going to contribute to your success moving forwards is watch what you think and watch what you say. Because what you think and what you say becomes your reality. And if you can keep that in check, you can literally change your reality. When Venus moves into Libra, it's going to activate your 7th house, bringing sweetness to all of your relationships, personal and professional. It's going to be far easier to interact with people, to be patient, to be receptive, but also to balance your needs with the needs of others. You know, boundaries allow us to love ourselves and other people equally, right? Boundaries are very underrated. So definitely bringing that sweetness in has to also involve being kind and patient with yourself, not expecting perfection. And then when Mercury goes direct in your 5th house, by the end of August, again, there's that boost to advocating for yourself, standing up for what you need or what you believe. But even if you find that you're kind of revisiting topics at the end of August that also came up right about today, by the end of August, you're going to have a completely different perspective of what it is that your soul really needs to be happy, healthy, and successful. So again, watch what you think, watch what you say, and your entire life will change, okay? Mwah! Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We have Sun and Mercury Cazimi happening today, and it is a prelude to the full moon tomorrow. So the Cazimi is going to activate your 4th house, which is the place where we talk about your emotional health and the state of the home that you reside in. You know, our home is supposed to be a safe space away from the chaos of the world. There has been a lot of focus on your home space as well as your heart space during Leo season. And this Cazimi is really bringing your attention to how am I creating and maintaining my reality, and how can I possibly align my ideals with the reality that's playing out in front of me. So you may have new ideas, new breakthroughs, new realizations, new understandings around what exactly it is that your heart needs in order to be healthy and happy. And there's also a hint that there is an aspect or a component of minimizing, living simply, and perhaps maybe not expecting so much out of yourself or other people, having reasonable expectations. We're aiming for moderation and a healthy balance, but not necessarily perfection, right? So there's a full moon on Monday in Aquarius. It's in your 10th house. It's going to be shining a light on your ultimate goals as far as career or life in general. The 10th house is like our highest aspirations, the things we save up money for, or the goals that we have professionally. And this full moon is going to really shine a light on it's like driving down a dark road and being like, why are there no street lights on? And then all of a sudden a street light comes on and you're like, oh, there's the road. So if it has felt like your path moving forwards was either hard to see or hard to access or hard to plan for, Monday's full moon is actually going to help shine a light on not only where you're going, but also how to get where you want to be. It's, you know, really important to not only have that goal, but also have an idea of like, okay, how can I leapfrog towards that goal, right? Now we are dealing with a couple of challenging T-squares happening right now. One of them involves, I'm just looking at my notes here. Okay. Sorry, I got a little bit lost there with my brain. One of the T-squares that we're dealing with, Mars and Jupiter are conjunct in your 2nd house. So there's a huge focus on what resources are immediately available to you. Now, sometimes we start thinking really heavy about resources and money because we're dealing with lack. But what also might be coming through for you is a realization that now you have made financial breakthroughs. What would you like to do with them? This could come through as, for example, if you got a raise or a new job or something like that, and maybe there's a tendency or a desire to like go buy all the things that you could never afford. But when we see this conjunction in your 2nd house, it's actually a big, huge like hi from the universe saying, don't spend it so fast. Be really, really, really careful how you plan for the future. This is an opportunity for you to align with a budget. It's going to set you up to achieve those long-term goals that now you can see so clearly, right? Venus in your 5th house and Saturn in your 11th house is suggesting that there's a little bit of self-sabotage when it comes to your desire to escape from mundane reality. So every adult ever needs a treat after the day is done, a way of rewarding ourselves for the hard work or the shit that we had to put up with, right? But here we see a little bit of a repeating pattern where you might be a little bit too frivolous with your spending, whether it's retail therapy, scrolling through Amazon with a glass of wine and not really thinking about how much you're spending. It's quite possible that bringing things into the tangible, like taking out a certain amount of cash and only spending cash, and then you can see how much you're spending, as opposed to a debit card or a credit card in which it's kind of like invisible money, right? So if it feels like you've been hemorrhaging money, see what you can do to bring it into the 3rd dimensional reality so that you can have more of a personal relationship with it instead of like an invisible relationship. Now, when the sun moves into Virgo, it's actually going to be really, really helpful when it comes to curbing any financial bad habits you might have. Or if it's not about financial bad habits, if it's simply a matter of I literally don't make enough money, then it's an opportunity to get creative. Because with Venus moving into your 5th house, that's creativity, that's pleasure, that's joy, that's maybe starting up a side hustle, right? So especially along the lines of like work smarter, not harder. We only have so many hours in the day, and a chunk of those hours have to be set aside for you to rest and recuperate and recharge, right? So before you get another second job that doesn't pay very much, think about how can I potentially have some side income or make my budget last longer or cut out some extra expenses. You know, there's a million ways to watch shows, TV shows and movies and stuff online without paying any kind of subscription fee. Same with music, right? There's a website called Pluto TV. totally free. Don't have to pay a penny. So any of those ways in which maybe you're hemorrhaging money on a monthly basis for subscriptions or things like that. Anyway, that's the idea. Becoming more financially frugal, but in a way that you're still enjoying your life. Like, don't take the fun and the pleasure out of your life. It's got to exist on some level, but maybe finding out a way to do it smarter, right? So as we move into Virgo season, the sun is going to kind of create a little bit of friction around that question of, I want to have fun in my life. I am an adult. I work hard for my money, but the kind of fun that I want to have is not necessarily affordable or not necessarily feasible. So there is a little bit of that adjustment period where your inner child might be, you know, locked in, dig in your feet and go, but I wanna spend money on random things, right? And whatever, you do you. But if you want to change your financial life, you might have to tighten the belt a little bit, or you might have to kind of take a step back from any childish or impulsive purchases. No offense, every single human being goes through it, right? Venus squares Mars. So Mars and Jupiter are in your second house. Again, that is the focus on doing things differently when it comes to your access to resources. Venus in your fifth house is, but I love myself, I deserve to be happy. So that's where we're seeing that challenge. Then Venus moves into Libra. Venus is the ruling planet for you guys, Taurus, but also Libra. And it represents comfort and trust, but in kind of the grand scheme of things. When Venus is in your sign, it's like, I created comfort and trust, or I have comfort and trust available to me. Excuse me. Whereas when Venus moves into Libra, as it does on August 29th, it is, I can see comfort and trust in other people. I can co-create comfort and trust with the people around me, right? And so that's where it might get easier for you to kind of take a step back from feeling like you have to do everything for yourself. And remember, oh yeah, I can ask people for help, or I can delegate responsibility. So brainstorming and kind of having a bit of a elevated, peaceful perspective on your situation. It might be hard for you to see the bigger picture in the middle of August, but by the time we get to the end of August, it's going to be a lot easier for you to see the bigger picture and have a much more peaceful attitude about everything. Venus moving into Libra is going to activate your sixth house. It's going to be easier for you to be responsible. It's going to be easier for you to follow through on any healthy choices or commitments or new habits you want to take on. And then when Mercury goes direct in your fourth house, it is going to be a sense towards the end of August of like, okay, I know what I need to do. I know that when I make healthy choices, I feel healthier as a human being. And all these healthy choices, all these ways of filling my own cup, they're starting to feel really, really, really good. So it's going to be hard to kind of buckle down through August. But if you make any necessary choices, then it's going to feel a lot smoother as we finish up the month. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed your horoscopes, and I will see you again in 2 weeks at the new moon. Mwah. Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are starting off the week with a Cazimi and a full moon. It is definitely going to be in a very exciting time. The Cazimi is activating the Sun and Mercury in your third house. We've been talking about the third house a lot during Leo season for you guys, with a huge focus on what you think and what you say, but also by extension, what you believe. Now, this Cazimi forms a square to Uranus, indicating that if you feel stuck, what needs to change, indicated by Uranus, is what's happening up here inside of your head, indicated by the 12th house. Could be secrets that you hold from other people. It could be ways in which you are either lying or deceiving yourself. So basically cleaning out the metaphorical closet inside of your head is going to help you really actualize the honorable thought and honorable word that you're being invited to align with. So this Cazimi is going to help you either see something differently, make a breakthrough with your mental health, or make a breakthrough with some sort of mystery that has felt like an obstacle in your path of evolution. And then the full moon on Monday in Aquarius is going to activate your 9th house of belief systems. So this is where we see that over the weekend, like right now, if you can make those breakthroughs, if you can talk to a therapist, if you can talk to a good friend, if you can get some of the yuck out of your head, then by Monday, you're going to be like, oh my God, I get it. I get it. Change your mind, change your life, all of it, right? And that is most especially true for your zodiac sign. This full moon does set the tone for the next 2 weeks. And so again, you're being invited to just really like question everything, question what you believe. And before something comes out of your mouth, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it doesn't check at least 2 out of 3, well, 3 out of 3 boxes is really important, right? And that goes for what you say to other people, but also what you say to yourself. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Minimizing is a huge deal for you guys. So there's a T-square, a couple of really important T-squares happening. And I wanted to kind of get out my chart really quick here so that I look at it. The T-squares are involving Mars and Jupiter in your zodiac sign. You are being invited to make huge steps in your evolution as a human being. And the biggest part in which you're being invited to evolve is how you express yourself and the identity that you present to the world. Now, as a Gemini, you wear many hats. And depending on who you're hanging out with, you might present a different part of your identity. But what might be coming up for you is a fractured sense of self. Maybe you can only be part of yourself over here and part of yourself over here. But ask yourself, in whose company can I be completely myself? Not just part. And then those are the people that you're going to be feeling most compelled to spend time with. So as you grow and evolve as a human being, the other thing that's happening is that you're less interested in any shallow relationships in which you cannot be completely yourself, right? Being authentically you becomes the highest priority moving forwards, but especially over the next couple of weeks. Now, with Venus in your 4th house, you have been going through a process of prioritizing your emotional health and getting a lot more picky about who is allowed into your life. Picking and choosing is serving you well. And with Saturn in your 10th house, it's becoming easier for you to let go of any toxic or unhealthy connections. Whereas in the past, you might have worked really hard to keep these people in your life and tried to see the best in them or whatever it is. Or alternatively, sometimes we get locked in conflict when really all that needs to happen is we need to just let go and walk away, right? So it's going to get easier for you moving forwards to let go, to walk away, to make healthy choices, to be picky about who's allowed in your life. But the only way that any of those things are going to happen is if you focus on, as much as possible, being the most authentic version of yourself in as many different situations in your life as you possibly can. So August 22nd, the sun moves into Virgo, activating your 4th house of emotional health and your literal physical home, which means that during Virgo season, from the end of August to the end of September, you might be more reclusive and less social than you have been in previous months. Leo season was activating your house of being social, whereas Virgo season activates your house of staying at home and making blanket forts. And sometimes when we realize, like you guys are going through massive realizations about maybe coming to the conclusion that you can't be your authentic self in a lot of situations in your life, that's why Virgo season might be a very reclusive period for you, because you're going to be like, and no, I am not doing that anymore. I don't have the time. I don't have the heart space. I don't have the energy. So you do you, make blanket forts if that's what you need, right? And during Virgo season, there is going to be a little bit of a conflict as the sun in your 4th house, highlighting emotional health, comes up against Pluto in your 9th and Neptune in your 10th. So Pluto in your 9th, it means that some sort of oppressive force is going to come in the form of your belief systems. So for example, if you believe that you're supposed to be patient and kind and forgiving with everyone, then it's going to be really hard for you to set and enforce emotional boundaries because you believe that you're supposed to keep giving people chances. That's just one example. what I'm trying to say is that you are on a mission, and your biggest obstacle is going to be outdated beliefs about yourself or other people. The other thing too is that with Neptune in your 10th house, you have a clear idea of where you want to be, but sometimes what's missing is the steps to get there. And so if you can't see the steps to get there, odds are it's your belief systems that are making it hard to understand. Venus forms a square to Mars, really kind of highlighting how important it is for you to fill your own cup, reduce interactions with difficult people, keep to yourself as much as you want, my dear. And even if in the past you used to be super social, super accepting, things like that, that's where we're going to see that your desire to live an authentic life that is emotionally healthy might come up against previous forms of your identity, right? So if you can let go of the ways in which you were identifying, then it'll help you cultivate a new, more accurate identity for yourself that is aligned with who you really are, not just who you pretended to be for the sake of other people, right? There's a lot of mirroring and masking involved in social interactions, and what you're going to realize is that you no longer have the energy to feed into stuff like that. You just want to show up and be yourself. No games. No weird dynamics, just straightforward interactions, right? No time for BS anymore. So when Venus moves into Libra, it's going to activate your 5th house. That's going to be around August 29th. Activating your 5th house is going to catalyze your desire to be free, to be playful, to have fun. So any people in which you're, any connections in which you don't feel safe to bring out your inner child, those are not going to be connections you want to have anymore. You want to be silly, you want to let your guard down, you want to have fun and make jokes and not be always filtering what you're saying based on what you think other people are going to think, right? So as much as possible, aim for joy, aim for being peaceful, aim for having fun, and then everything else is going to make sense after that. And when Mercury goes direct on August 28th, it's going to be moving forwards in your house of communication. And so it will be easier for you to pick and choose any social connections that really are way more fun. You may have felt for the last, for 2 weeks that you didn't necessarily have the words to explain where you were at or what you were thinking or feeling. But by August 28th, it's going to be easier for you to either explain yourself or decide that there's no point in explaining yourself, right? So definitely just keep focusing on filling your cup. And like I said, everything else will make sense. So I hope you guys have an amazing 2 weeks. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you right before the beginning of September at the new moon. Bye. Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We have a Cazimi in your 2nd house, which means that there's going to be an opportunity for you to speak into reality anything that you're hoping to manifest. A Cazimi joins the sun, and this time it's Mercury. So that's where who you are and what you think and what you say comes together in beautiful harmony. In your 2nd house of finances and resources, this is a great time for you guys to activate a magical manifestation wish list, to speak into being more money, more resources, more comfort, more trust, and things like that. So there is a beautiful opportunity to bring your focus into alignment when it comes to the life that you're living. Now, the full moon on Monday even adds more magic because it's in your 8th house of connecting to spirit, karma, and life, death, and rebirth. So there is a beautiful opportunity here for you to shift timelines, I guess is the word I want to use. If you want to shift timelines, if you want to manifest something, whether it be an ideal relationship, an ideal job, or more money to work with, this is the perfect opportunity for you to do so. The full moon activating your 8th house is going to shine a light on all of the interconnected threads between everything that's happening for you. Often in life, it feels like all these things are just happening separately, but the full moon in Aquarius on Monday is going to help you see the bigger picture and work within that new information. So moving on, there are a couple of T-squares happening right now, and one of those is, just looking at my notes here, Moon and Uranus. Okay. One of the T-squares happening this week is Jupiter in your 12th house. Jupiter and Mars are conjunct in your 12th house, giving you an opportunity to think differently, live differently, and change your mind, but also change your life. With Jupiter representing our belief systems and Mars representing the action we take, joining together in your 12th house of spirituality, but also like subconscious and higher conscious. This is where we bring conceptual understanding into reality. So this is where I keep seeing there's an opportunity for you to bring a wish or a prayer or a manifestation into reality, but it feels as though it's something that you've already tried to do or you've attempted in some form before, and you might be feeling defeated or frustrated, or maybe you feel like it's not even, there's no point or something like that, where your guides and the astrological potential right now is saying if you change your mind, you can change your life. Sometimes we get in our own way because we believe something isn't possible or isn't feasible or is just too much trouble, right? But this is a really awesome opportunity for you to question your belief systems, question why you think something isn't possible. The longer I live on this planet, the more I realize that this third dimensional reality is only a shell of what really, really, really exists. As much as you can, limit interaction with people who make you question your self-worth or question your magic, because there is so much that can be accomplished. So many human beings on this planet have asked for a sign or have asked for God to reveal themselves, and magic and miracles happen. I even have it written on my board, especially for when I get stuck. Believe in magic and miracles. Trust and have faith. So trusting in your own manifestation abilities is a huge part of it. Trusting in possibilities, trusting in life being so much more than what meets the eye. And then when the sun moves into Virgo on August 22nd, it's going to activate your third house. So right around that time might be the best opportunity for you to kind of rethink, how can I manifest from a healthy place? How can I integrate my desire to be a decent human being with my desire to experience some level of comfort, some level of smoothness in my life, right? So with the sun moving into Virgo, activating your third house, and then Venus already being in your third house, opposing Saturn in your ninth house, the third house is like what we speak and who we interact with, and the ninth house is what we believe, what we've come to believe ourselves, what we've studied, and what we've been taught to believe. And so you may be, kind of treading this fine line. And again, the key to understanding is going to be question everything. There is a pathway for new approaches, new opportunities, and new ways of seeing yourself and seeing the world around you. Now, this interaction that's happening is going to kind of continue through Virgo season because Pluto's in your 8th house and Neptune's in your 9th house. So Neptune invites you to dream big, aim high, shoot for the stars. And Pluto in your 8th house reminds you that you have the power. I want to bring in that quote from The Labyrinth, who has the power? The babe has the power. David Bowie. Anyway, love that movie. I just can't say it enough. Believe in magic. Believe in the potential that you can create. Believe in all the ways in which your beautiful, amazing, huge heart creates miracles for other people all around you all the time. Aim some of that love towards yourself. Now, Venus does square Mars, indicating that in some ways you are going to be your own worst enemy, but please don't beat yourself up. Just consider, okay, maybe I could just change my mind about something, or maybe I can shift my belief system about something, and boom, there's your pathway moving forwards. everything that's happening, like with the full moon especially, kind of creating this opportunity to make big changes. This is where we're seeing like an opportunity to, you know, in the third dimensional reality, we look at our environment and react to it. Whereas it is within the mind and within the spirit that we actually initiate the reality. So instead of looking at your third dimensional reality and acting accordingly, imagine the reality you want and see how you can make that play out. I hope that makes sense. And it's not just all fluff and fluff. Like even Einstein said, it's all about matching a vibration. If we can vibrate at a certain level, we can attract to ourselves other things that vibrate on that level. So there is actual physics and science behind manifestation. It's not just woo-woo stuff, right? So then at the end of August, Venus moves into Libra. You are going to feel more reclusive because Venus is going to move into your 4th house. Really kind of bringing that comfort level to your immediate surroundings. Maybe it's, you know, wanting to have a blanket fort or only wanting to hang out with people that help you feel emotionally safe. But Venus moving into your 4th house is also going to be an opportunity to bring beauty or peace or balance to your heart space and to the place that you live. You might want to, you know, get some new pictures for your walls, or you might want to create art to put on your walls, things like that. And then Mercury goes direct on August 28th, and it's going to be going direct in your 2nd house of finances and resources. So coming back to the beginning, if you activate some sort of magical manifestation wish list right about now, right around the full moon, it doesn't have to be exact, but if you set those intentions now, then in 2 weeks when Mercury goes direct, you will very likely start to see some of those things coming through and starting to move forwards. Yeah, so make sure to be in service to yourself as much as you are in service to others. Be a healthy level of selfish, and then make that magic happen. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah. I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Leo Sun and Leo Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. Definitely lots happening for your zodiac sign right now. Happy birthday to any late Leos in the month. The Sun joins Mercury in a Cazimi today, activating your 1st house. So you may be able to see yourself in a different light. Now, for some of you guys, it's going to be empowering, and for some of you guys, it might be a little bit of a reality check. And the form of the reality check could be in the form of something coming out of your mouth and then all of a sudden going, oh, that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? Or like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. Sometimes something makes a lot of sense inside of our heads, and then when we try and say it to somebody else or it comes out our mouths, we go, wow, that did not come out the way that I thought it was going to, right? As much as you can, laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. Laughter is the best way to kind of lighten the burden and be able to make any progress that we need to make, especially as Leo season kind of wraps up here before we get to Virgo season, because Virgo is super, super serious. So this Cazimi in your sign today is going to be an opportunity to see yourself in a different light, even if it's not necessarily a comfortable realization. Laugh your way through it, because it provides an opportunity to make a profound shift in your life. So there's something massive about what you think, how you express yourself, how you interact with other people. It has to do with the outer facets of your personality, your self-expression, your presentation, the character that people see. There's something about that that is going to offer you an opportunity to realize something or make a profound breakthrough. And if you are willing to be humble, if you are willing to see what was shown to you and go, oh, okay, yeah, I should probably fix that or change that, that is going to open up the pathway to your personal evolution. But if you are not willing to see yourself objectively, you're going to miss the opportunity to evolve. Then on Monday, we have a full moon in Aquarius, which is exactly opposite your sign. It may seem to you like other people are super emotional, but again, it's going to be really important to ask yourself, how do I contribute to that? How do I feed into that? How am I potentially part of the process of setting the energetic precedent within this context, within this connection? So it will be a huge focus on how you interact with other people. It will be easy for you to be like, oh, that other person is kind of wild right now. But if you can also look in the mirror at the same time, there is much to gain from this period of time. Jupiter and Mars are conjunct in your 11th house, which is a huge stimulation to your creative ideas and your desire to either make a difference in somebody's life or do something meaningful with your life. Activating the 11th house with Mars and Jupiter, you want more. You want to expand your horizons. You want to do things differently. You want to be bigger and better and shinier and all these grand aspirations, right? So this is definitely stimulating your imagination, and it's definitely stimulating your desire to potentially make sweeping changes in your life. Potentially holding you back is money. We can all dream big, right? But if we don't have the finances to do some of these big things, sometimes those dreams have to sit on a shelf for a while. The more that you can make healthy choices when it comes to how you spend money, but also how you make money, it is going to really help you align with some of these big dreams that you have for yourself. It's really important to remember, especially as the sun moves into Virgo, the sun is going to move into your 2nd house. This is something we touched on last week as well, is that with Virgo energy starting up, because Venus is already there, then the sun joins in, there's a big focus on your relationship with stuff. And it's not just your relationship with stuff, but the 2nd house is all about what we value. So for example, if you manifest tons of money, but you treat it like it's disposable, then we're not seeing an assignment of value, and we're not seeing that value stick around. I hope that makes sense. So if you treat everything in your life with so much love and so much reverence and respect, then you can actually improve your relationship with money, because you're not going to be frivolous or wasteful or careless with it. Now, not every Leo is frivolous or careless with money. Some Leos are incredibly thoughtful and really, really frugal with money, in which case, if that is how you are, then what you're going to be looking at is, okay, how can I not just budget for bills and basic expenses, but how can I budget to do something that's going to be like making memories, right? Sometimes, you know, we're so focused on saving money for things and stuff, but because Jupiter and Mars are in your 11th house, what's shifting is you're like, actually, I want to make memories. Whether it be giving a gift to yourself or somebody that you love, all across the board, you're going to be steering away from tangible objects that eventually lose value or lose interest, and moving in the direction of something that you're going to remember forever. Life-changing, for example, right? Whether it be a class that you always wanted to take, or a place that you always wanted to visit, or a subject you wanted to learn more about. Expanding your horizons is the key to expanding your life. So all across the board, if the methods that you've been using aren't working or aren't helping you accomplish what you want, change your methodology, and then everything will change. Now, that 2nd house focus with all of these planets in Virgo is going to come up against how you typically relate to people. So for example, if your love language is buying people things, then you might have to take a step back from that and find a different way to express your love that isn't going to cost you money. Another thing that might be coming through is that you've got these huge goals and aspirations, but also a lot of debt. And we can't move forwards until we deal with the debt. So that's a couple stuff to keep in mind. And your desire to really like live your best life keeps coming back to the examples that you see in the world around you. And as much as you can be inspired by other people, at the same time, you want to ask yourself, are these goals realistic? And is this vision that I'm seeing of somebody else actually realistic? You know, people on social media can post pictures of like fancy cars or vacations and things like that. And so much of it is fake. So much of it is fake. So make sure that you're not killing yourself to reach some sort of lofty ideal that isn't even real in the first place, right? Make sure that your goals, whatever goals you hold for yourself in your life, make sure they're realistic, make sure they're heart-centered, make sure they are tangible and achievable. Because if you set your goals way too high and then you can't accomplish them, you might end up in a cycle of despair in which you give up. So baby steps, keep it fun, keep it realistic, and keep it within budget. And then when Venus moves into Libra at the end of the month, it's going to activate your third house. So if you have been wanting to start your own business, if you've been wanting to expand your connections, personal or professional, whether it be a social circle or your business network or things like that, when Venus moves into Libra at the end of August, it's going to give a huge boost. If you are willing to say what you mean and mean what you say, if you follow through on plans, if you follow through on connections, if you follow through on taking your business to the next level, then starting at the end of August and moving into September, there's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful potential for making heaps of money or making lots and lots of progress when it comes to your network and your connections. And then finally, at the end of August, Mercury goes direct on August 28th. It is going to be in your first house. So if you've been struggling with thinking straight, if you've been struggling with communication or getting work done during Mercury retrograde, that will definitely start to clear up at the end of the month when Mercury goes direct. You will find it easier to speak your truth. You're going to find it easier to think straight, and it's going to be easier to connect with people because there will be a better sense of mutual understanding. So thank you so much for being here. I wish you guys all the very best, and I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Virgo Sun and Virgo Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. I'm going to give a quick shout out, a quick happy birthday to any Virgos out there that were born at the very beginning of the zodiac sign. The sun moves into Virgo on August 22nd, so that's going to be fun. Happy birthday out there. So right here, right now, we have a Cazimi, and a Cazimi is when the sun and another planet are in the exact same spots. Today's Cazimi is the sun and Mercury, which is a very locked in sense that I am what I think, or what I speak is what I believe. And if anybody challenges what you think or what you believe, you might take it so personally that you react as if your existence is at stake. So a big warning, don't take yourself or other people too seriously right now. Everybody's feeling pretty argumentative, and you definitely don't want to get into an argument with a brick wall. I would recommend highly that you check out the general overview at the beginning of this video if you haven't already, just to get an idea of what to expect. So yeah, this Cazimi today is happening in your 12th house. And the 12th house is, it represents mystery, it represents your higher conscious, but also your subconscious. It's a sense that something's in your head on a conceptual level, but you don't necessarily know how to access it. And this Cazimi in your 12th house is actually a brilliant opportunity. It's like being in a dark closet and finally finding the light switch and going, ah, now I can see. Holy shit, there's some skeletons in this closet. So basically what's happening is you have an opportunity to unlock something that has been foggy or mysterious within your own head. But there's also a high likelihood that it is going to ask of you that you be more honest with yourself than maybe you have been in the past. So unlocking this Cazimi is going to square Uranus in your 9th house. So this is where I say you may need to change your mind about something. For example, if you've been digging in your heels going, I'm right and they're wrong, it's going to be an opportunity to check that. As much as you can question yourself, question everything, question what people say, question what you think and say, then it's going to provide an opportunity for you to grow and learn and evolve. If things feel overwhelming or foggy or sticky, it may be better for you to just get some space and process your thoughts on your own before you return to any challenging conversations, because conversations during this quality of time are very, very likely to turn into conflict or misunderstandings just because of the astrological energy. However, there is an opportunity for you to make a huge breakthrough, and it does involve changing your mind, and it can possibly lead to changing your life as well. Now, the full moon on Monday in Aquarius is activating your 6th house of daily habits, routines, physical health, mental health, and whatever it is you do for a day job. So this full moon on Monday is quite possibly going to shine a light on the truth of your daily life. And that truth is going to be different for everybody, right? You may realize, wow, this feels empty. I don't want to do this anymore. Or you might realize, wow, I'm living my best life. I feel like I'm making a difference, or I feel like I'm doing something meaningful. The deciding factor here is going to be whether or not whatever it is you're doing on a daily basis fills your cup and creates a sense of meaningfulness in your life, or if it leaves you feeling empty, depleted, or like, what the heck is the point, right? So depending on where you are on the spectrum, you're gonna have a different reaction to this full moon, but the idea, the theme, is shining a light on whatever it is you do on a daily basis. If you know, for some of you guys, what might come up is healthy habits. Are you being healthy, or are you sabotaging your health by doing something on a daily basis that's not very good for you? Virgo is all about being healthy. It's about noticing the details. And it's also ideally being in service to other people on some sort of a level. But the other side of that is that you can't completely deplete yourself to fill somebody else's cup. So that might come up for you as well. The balance of reciprocity within your relationships. Now, Jupiter and Mars are conjunct, offering us an opportunity to do things completely differently and break through obstacles to make breakthroughs in our understanding or make breakthroughs in our lives. For you guys, it's happening in your 10th house of career and long-term plans, which means that if you are willing to expand your network personally or professionally, if you're willing to brainstorm, if you're willing to, instead of having a laser-like focus, maybe spread out your focus, put your energy into a few different baskets, or because Gemini energy is like, let's do things differently. Let's diversify. Let's brainstorm. Let's try a few different things and see what sticks, right? So with Jupiter and Mars conjunct in your 10th house, the pathway to making breakthroughs in your professional life, in your career, or in your long-term goals, the pathway to making breakthroughs is do something differently. Change your approach, change your mind, change your attitude, change the way that you spend your time. And for you guys that really like to stick to routine, Virgo rising, Virgo sun, you guys are totally creatures of habit. It's going to be hard for you to take a step back from how you've always done things. But it's just a matter of reality that there's some aspect of your professional life that is old and tired. And in order for you to make the breakthroughs you want or achieve the goals that you've set for yourself, you've got to do things differently. Venus in your 1st house is inviting you to love yourself into a path of growing. And Saturn in your 7th house is inviting you to be less cynical about the people you interact with. Sometimes we have a very cynical attitude of like, they're never going to do it, so now I have to. But often that decision happens without having a conversation. We as parents can grumble that our kids aren't doing chores, and so we just go do the dishes. But right there, we are enabling our children to not doing chores because we went ahead and did it. So it's going to be really important for you to take a step back from any judgments, from any critiques about other people, and take a really honest, humble look at yourself and go, okay, how am I perpetuating the problem? How am I potentially playing the martyr or playing the victim and perpetuating this situation? Can I possibly do things differently? Can I possibly use different words? Can I possibly use a different approach? Can I possibly disengage? Can I possibly be less grumpy and cynical? And if in doing so, would that change the situation, right? So there's something in your life that is inviting you to take a step back and just please try a different approach. Now, when the sun moves into Virgo on August 22nd, it is going to be your birthday season. It's going to be a sense that you feel super powered or supercharged. Sometimes what comes with that is a bit of an ego boost. And only you know, maybe you need an ego boost right now. Feeling stronger in who you are helps us set and enforce healthy boundaries, right? When we feel insecure, we're less willing to have healthy boundaries. So sometimes an ego boost is awesome. Virgo season is going to help you be stronger in who you are, and it's going to help you see yourself in a different light. You might even be having those like, wow, what has the last year been like? Do I have any wishes or goals for this coming year? It's kind of like that full circle assessment, right? And you're going to be coming up against Pluto in your 6th house, which is a sense that on a daily basis, something is making you feel depleted or disempowered. But Neptune is in your 7th house, inviting you to, give yourself another chance, rethink balance, rethink how to align with your ideals. And again, there's something about needing to change your approach. With Venus moving into Libra at the end of the month, it's going to be a boost to your bank accounts. It's going to be a huge boost when it comes to your ability to manifest resources and money and have what you need accessible in a tangible way. Venus moving into Libra is going to be an influence for the next few weeks. It starts at the very last days of August, and then it moves into Libra. So Venus being in Libra for a few weeks, activating your 2nd house of money and resources is amazing for finally like balancing your books. Especially if you decided to do things differently within your work, within your career or your business. If you're trying new things, if you've got your eggs in multiple baskets because you decided to take the opportunity to brainstorm and try something new, then what you're going to see at the end of August is, holy crap, it's working. Oh my God, this side gig is bringing me money, or this new way of presenting myself is really catching on with my clients or my customers, right? So the work is going to pay off. If you're willing to step out of a rut, if you're willing to do things differently, then by the end of August, it's going to be profoundly lucrative for you. So definitely give yourself a chance. And then also at the end of August, Mercury goes direct. So it is kind of like that balancing act of once you start to clear out your headspace, give yourself a chance, try to be less critical and less cynical, and you're going to see things really starting to flow in your immediate environment, and you're going to be like, oh, that worked. Helping myself in a mental health kind of way actually helped me in a physical health kind of way. And when you see that empirical evidence, it's going to encourage you to keep trying and keep up these new things that you're doing. So happy birthday, any Virgos out there. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Libra Sun and Libra Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We have a Sun and Mercury Cazimi today, which means that our sense of identity, but also what we think and what we believe, are going to be really, really, really intertwined today. It is a bonus if you have to stand up for yourself, but it is going to be an obstacle if you're trying to stay open-minded. We are very, very likely today, over the next couple of days, to really dig our heels in and resist if somebody challenges our beliefs or challenges our understanding. But that is exactly where we need to relax and just stay open. It is a huge sign of intelligence to be able to hold space for someone who does not agree with us, who potentially challenges our beliefs. And it doesn't mean that we have to go, okay, I'll believe what you believe. No, you can stay strong in what you believe, but you can also hold space for an intelligent conversation, right? And often that's where we really learn the most from each other, right? So definitely the advice for your sign is don't immediately reject someone who sees things differently, but pause, reflect, and observe, and just see if there's anything from that moment that's going to help you understand yourself or the other person a little bit better. Now, there is some sort of a repeating pattern in your life that's driving you absolutely crazy. And it has to do with ways in which you are triggered. Either feeling alone, feeling unsupported, feeling misunderstood. There's a part of you that's struggling a lot to see your own divinity. And what that means is, you know, the third dimensional reality is getting you down. You guys are so relationship invested that if you don't get positive, healthy reflections from the people around you, you don't feel positive and healthy. So the tip for you guys would be avoid anyone or anything that makes you feel like garbage. Steer yourself in the direction of uplifting and stimulating conversations. Even if you see things differently, if you feel heard and seen and understood by the other person and you end up in a really cool conversation, that's going to open doors for you. So expand your connections as much as possible. Please do believe in your own divinity, even if other people don't see it. And the full moon in Aquarius on Monday is activating your 5th house of joy and pleasure and nurturing your inner child. So as much as you can, try and shake off the heavy, heavy stuff that you're dealing with. Aim for play, aim for laughter. Maybe go do some karaoke or something like that. Because there's huge potential for you guys. Mars and Jupiter are conjunct in your 9th house, which means that if what's happening in your head is really the source of your biggest challenges right now, changing your mind is going to help you change your life. Doing things differently, especially in the sense of expanding your contacts, is going to make a huge difference in your world. Jupiter and Mars in Gemini encourages us to expand our connections, personal and professional. And happening in your 9th house means that is the avenue through which you're going to find an exit door or new room to roam. It is a part of your chart that is adventure, travel, expansion, hope, newness, more, really like inspiration, and the joy we hope to get out of life. So if everything in your life right now is feeling old and tired and just not doing it for you, you need new friends, you need new contacts, you need new connections, and in the eyes of new people, you will see yourself in a new way. I hope that makes sense. Then the sun moves into Virgo on August 22nd, and for you guys, it's going to be in your 12th house. Now, in astrology, we count from 1 to 12 through the houses. And the first house, when the sun moves into your first house, that's your birthday. Or if you're a Libra rising, it is a sense of coming full circle. So right now, the sun is in your 12th house. And that's kind of like final exams. That's kind of like, okay, what did I learn in the past year? What did I accomplish? What did I not accomplish? What did I manifest? What did I let go of? How do I see myself? What do I want out of the future? You know, it's a time of really, really big full circle questions, right? And so when the sun moves into Virgo on August 22nd, you may feel yourself starting that process, thinking, okay, let's do a little bit of a recap. Let's get an idea of where we're going and what we want. And just allowing yourself to kind of recalibrate your compass is going to help you come back to center and worry less about what other people think or say or believe, and just come back to center and reestablish for yourself what is the most important as far as your ideals and your values. What's happening when during Virgo season and the sun is moving through your 12th house, it's going to be brushing up against Pluto and Neptune in kind of an uncomfortable friction kind of way. And what that means is that, you know, Pluto is in your 5th house, which is this kind of heavy cloud that's been following you around, whether you have a wounded inner child, or maybe you feel like there's no space for joy or pleasure or creativity in your life. There's a sense that things feel heavy. right? And it's been quite a few years because Pluto moves stupid slow. And so Pluto moving through your 5th house is one of the biggest challenges, is rediscovering joy for yourself. And that is going to be helped by your journey through your subconscious, whether it be going to therapy and healing your inner child, or taking more breaks for yourself, spending less time worrying about other people and more time pursuing creative things like arts and music, or whatever it is that makes it feel like life is actually fun, right? And then with Neptune in your 6th house, you are encouraged to start bringing those ideals into daily practice, right? It's very hard to save up for a grand vacation or something like that. But if once a day or once a week you meditate, you can create that beautiful inner peace. You can do a guided meditation where you imagine, you know, having a Mai Tai at the beach and you're getting a massage, and the wind, the Hawaiian air. You know, when we imagine things, our brains light up in the exact same way as if we were experiencing it for real. Totally. So doing a guided meditation once a day can help your brain feel like you're getting a literal vacation every day. I'm not kidding, man. Meditation can literally change your life. So don't brush this one off. Yeah. And so that challenge, that's really the biggest theme for you guys right now, is clearing out your headspace, questioning your beliefs, and seeing what you can do to embrace or create new opportunities, new possibilities, and new connections, so that you can see yourself in new eyes, because I know that's really important to you. And then at the end of the month, Venus moves into your sign. So this is a beautiful influence. At the end of the month, when Venus moves into Libra, you're going to have this boost of self-confidence, and it's going to be so much easier to love yourself unconditionally. And like I said, loving ourselves leads to healthy boundaries and healthy relationships. When we have a low opinion of ourselves, when we feel insecure, when we feel abandoned or desperate, we seek out and we maintain crappy relationships because we have set the bar so freaking low. So if that resonates with where you're at right now, let go of crappy relationships. It is better to be alone than to be with people who make you feel alone. That's a Robin Williams quote. Love that guy. And that's the thing. Instead of suffering in silence, seriously, let go of those connections, set the standards really freaking high, and see what kind of miracles happen. And then Mercury goes direct on August 28th, activating your 11th house, which, boom, new friends, new sense of belonging, new sense of meaningfulness in your life, and a new connection with either creativity, arts, or music, something like that. So give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance to do things differently. Don't be afraid to let go of, people in your life that just are making you miserable. Because as soon as your hands are free, new opportunities will come in. Mwah! Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Scorpio Sun and Scorpio Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. Today we have a Sun and Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Leo. And what that means is that our egos are going to be running rampant today. You guys prioritize honor and value and morals and loyalty to the highest degree. And so of any zodiac sign, you guys are most likely to be bothered by other people's performances today, especially if they are empty performances. You're going to be totally turned off by ego and those kinds of proud behaviors that are really devoid of true honor and dignity. And you're going to be really, really, really tempted to call people out on their stuff. Whether or not that's appropriate is up to you to decide. But basically, the Cazimi is in your 10th house, shining a light on what your ultimate goals are. However, Uranus is in your 7th house, and the square created means that you may be looking at your closest connections going, wow, this does not align with my highest goals and aspirations. Now, it's really important to kind of be humble in your assessment of yourself and other people, because there is a very high likelihood of being unconscious of the ways in which we are locked into ego. It's going to be very easy to be quite judgmental of other people, but it may not be a realistic assessment, right? Now, if these are realizations or things that you've been thinking about for a very long time, then what's going to happen is this would be the moment of being like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But if these are realizations or thoughts about other people that you haven't had before, and they seem to come out of nowhere, I would urge you caution in responding with any kind of frantic or ill thought out response is likely to blow up in our faces right now. So just observe, don't absorb, and then take some space to figure out what you want to do with that new information. The full moon, there's a full moon on Monday, full moon in Aquarius, bringing a highlight, an energetic focus on your emotional health and quite possibly the home in which you reside. And what might happen for you, even though you might be tempted to kind of put people in their place, the full moon on Monday actually encourages you to just disengage. Just don't even bother, because other people right now, I mean, the way that energy is right now is that people are just going to have a brick wall kind of energy. And so if you think you're like going to call somebody out on something, I guarantee you it's going to be returned in your face times 10. It's not going to go the way that you think it is. So the best thing you can do is just look after yourself. The home is where the heart is. And if there's no heart out there, walk away. If there's no heart in the friendships you're engaged in, just walk away. And it doesn't necessarily mean permanently, but just fill your own cup over the next couple of days, and then the energy will subside. So Jupiter and Mars are conjunct right now, leading to amazing potential for breakthroughs and new opportunities and new understandings. And for you guys, it's in your 8th house. You may experience a financial windfall. You may lock into an opportunity to reduce or clear your debt. You may realize that the people that you have to share money with, whether it be a partner or a roommate or a business partner or something like that, the 8th house refers to shared resources. So if there's anybody that you have to balance your finances with, you are being invited to have some important conversations about, for example, how is money spent? What are our long-term financial goals? What is each person contributing? With Mercury being retrograde in Virgo right now, and Virgo and Leo, it's really important to have healthy conversations, to make your things, your thoughts, your ideals, your plans, make it crystal clear, so that everybody involved is on the same page. And if you find that there is some sense of confusion, disorientation, or misunderstandings, across the board, the solution is going to be talk about it, talk it out, get everything 100% clear. Venus is currently moving through your 11th house. So you may have lofty goals for your finances, but it might not feel like they're very tangible right now. It may feel as though a lot of your money is going out of your pocket to other people, or maybe to art or music or charity or donations or something like that. And so you may be thinking, okay, how can I kind of reclaim some of my finances? How can I feel as though maybe I'm spending a little bit of money on myself? But the other thing that's happening is that Saturn in your 5th house is encouraging you to be financially frugal, to not spend like a kid in a candy store, to really think clearly and think things through before you spend money, plan and budget. And sometimes one of the best things to do is to get cash out so that you have the money in front of you and you have a clear visual connection to what it is that you're spending. Because spending on a credit card or a debit card can be like invisible money. And then we don't really have an idea of how much money is flowing through our hands, right? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff having to do with your desire to belong, your desire to live a meaningful life. And then sometimes the trap that we get stuck in is thinking that those things cost money. Oh, I can't do that art stuff because it's going to cost money. Did you know your local dollar store is going to offer art supplies like fancy canvases and paints and things like that for like $1 or $2. Anything and everything can be done on a budget. You can go on like, you know, Marketplace and find music instruments, art supplies, things for super cheap, thrift stores, stuff like that. Basically, there is a sense that you might be holding yourself back from living your best life because you keep putting it off, or you think that you need money to do it, or you're waiting for a friend to do it with you. And so one of the things that's coming through is live your best life, whether or not you have huge money, whether or not you have friends to do it with you. Where there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of things can be done for cheap or free. While the sun is moving through Virgo, it is going to be putting a huge highlight on whether or not you feel like you belong and whether or not your life is fun. Enriching activities, enriching connections, enriching hobbies, things like that. You're going to be very resistant to being completely stuck in duty and responsibility. There has to be more in it for you. There has to be cherry on top of the cake and ice cream and whipped cream and all of that, right? Yeah. Pluto in your 4th house is bringing a bit of a heavy depression, kind of being a baseline. Maybe you're just not feeling super exuberant or excited. Maybe your energy is kind of low these days, but Neptune's in your 5th house, so that's like the bluebird of happiness, being like, come on, give it a try. Let's go. So yeah, some heavy feelings, but also a desire for pleasure and fun. You know, it's a balancing act for you guys right now. Mars and Jupiter being in your 8th house do indicate that on some level you are stuck in a rut. So as much as you can, see if you can identify ways in which you're stuck in a rut in your head, in your words, or in your choices, in your behaviors, in your habits, because interrupting some sort of a repeating pattern is where you're going to have the opportunity to make different choices and make huge breakthroughs. And then when Venus moves into Libra at the end of the month, it's going to bring a lot of love and sweetness into your subconscious. It will be easier for you to be gentle with yourself. If you struggle with depression or anxiety, you're going to get a huge break from it, starting at the end of August. And it's going to be easier for you to be loving and kind and patient with the people in your life as well. So Venus in Libra, starting August 29th, is going to be amazing for your zodiac sign. And then at the end of August, Mercury goes direct in your 10th house. So if you've been experiencing any delays in your professional life, in your career, or perhaps with long-term financial goals, something having to do with like housing or like buying a house, finding a house, like I said, career goals, any of those kind of big things, because Mercury's been retrograde in your 10th house for a bit, it might have felt like those long-term goals were either sidelined or, you know, went backwards or put on hold. Whereas when Mercury goes direct at the end of the month, finally it's going to feel like your career is going somewhere, or maybe big purchases finally feel possible, housing, things like that. So if it feels like you've been going backwards, don't even worry about it. Do whatever you can to fill your cup, fill your days with laughter, and then by the end of August, everything's going to start having a healthy momentum again. So I hope that helped. I hope you enjoyed your horoscopes. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We have a Cazimi of the Sun and Mercury in the sign of Leo today, and because that's another fire sign like you guys, you're gonna get this like supercharged turbo boost when it comes to everything that's happening in your headspace. If you've had creative blocks, writer's block, if you've felt stuck or you're struggling with some sort of sense of restriction, or maybe your brain just hasn't been moving very smoothly lately, then this is going to be a huge, amazing turbo boost for you. This Cazimi activates the highest regions of your mind, expanding possibilities and helping you see new solutions to what are probably old problems. The ninth house is expansion. It's more, it's new territory, it's new opportunities. And so this blast of new energy is going to start percolating into your brain as we speak. And it's amazing prequel, or what's the word? It's an amazing segue into the full moon on Monday. And the full moon is activating your third house. So there are amazing changes that you can possibly be making in your daily life. Excuse me, I just drank a bunch of water. If you make breakthroughs in your daily life, they're going to lead to profound changes in the opportunities available to you. There is a hint and a suggestion that if you can do things slightly differently, it will pretty much change the entire foundation that you are working with. And what I mean by that is that the full moon in your third house on Monday is an opportunity for you to see your personal and professional connections as clearly as possible so that you can make realistic evaluations around whether or not these connections that you have are healthy or helpful or in your highest good. So sometimes when I, for example, want to talk about something that's really heavy on my mind, I am going to be very selective with who I talk to. I'm going to want to seek out someone in which I feel emotionally safe and someone whose advice I would really appreciate, right? And I'm not going to share my deepest, heaviest thoughts or feelings with someone whose opinion I don't value, because then I'm setting myself up for disaster. I'm being vulnerable in an unsafe situation. The reason I'm sharing that with you is because the full moon in your third house is going to make it really, really obvious where and when you feel emotionally safe. It's going to make it really obvious where and when you feel as though someone sees the best in you, whether or not somebody welcomes you in a time of needing them, or whether or not you feel pushed away or rejected when you need that support, when you need that opportunity to connect with someone. It is possible that the full moon on Monday may bring to your attention all the ways in which you feel unsupported or alone or isolated. And if those are the feelings that come up for you, I do encourage you to take all of that with a grain of salt, because full moons have a way of making everything feel like a really big deal, even if it's not. And so the feelings coming up for you right about now are going to feel really, really, really big. But whether or not you are completely alone, whether or not you're completely unsupported, that is something to be decided or reflected on, right? The sense of extremes. You may find yourself using language inside of your head or with other people that aligns with always, never, I have no friends, I am never supported, things like that, right? We have to be really, really, really careful, because if we use phrases like always or never, odds are we are exaggerating or living in extremes that are not really realistic. But the fact of the matter is that any feelings that come up for you, they're real, they're valid. The question is whether or not the stories you attach, whether or not those are real or those are valid, right? So basically this Cazimi is offering up an opportunity for you to expand your horizons on a daily basis, but you have to be willing to change your habits. And one of those habits might be how you think. One of those habits might be how you talk to yourself or how you talk to other people. One of those habits might be who you connect with, and then the energetic precedent set within that connection, right? So if you feel very dissatisfied or discombobulated within your daily life, you are being invited to change your mind, and changing your mind is going to change your life. If you change the words that you use, if you change the people that you have conversations with, you're going to be able to unlock yourself out of any ruts you might feel stuck in. So yeah, this full moon in Aquarius activating your third house is an invitation to shift those connections. If you genuinely feel unsupported, find people who welcome you, right? Don't waste your time with people who just aren't doing it for you, because that's only going to perpetuate your insecurity. The sooner you close those doors, the sooner you reclaim your energy, the sooner you can make connections with people that are healthy and awesome and see the best in you, right? So it may be time to close the door on some of those connections. And with Jupiter and Mars conjunct in your 7th house, again, we see this repeating pattern, this repeating theme happening here, where if you are feeling unsupported or unloved or unappreciated, please take your energy elsewhere. There is no sense in continuing to pour your energy into someone who is like a black hole and just takes and takes and takes but never gives back. Especially if precedent has been set and you have a very clear idea of where the connection or the relationship stands. You have enough empirical evidence to make a decision and move on, right? There's no sense in giving it heaps more time if you already have given it time in itself. So by expanding your connections, you're going to change your emotional health and you're going to completely change your future moving forwards. But that seems to be the sticky point, right? If you don't like how you are seen in the eyes of others, go find different eyes to be seen in and then see what changes for you. So on August 22nd, the sun moves into Virgo, bringing a new healthy energy into your life path moving forwards. Part of it is going to be having a critical eye towards the relationships in your life or towards the choices that you're making. But please do keep in mind that Virgo's critical eye, the idea is to be helpful. The idea is to make constructive changes. It's not to beat yourself up. So if that critical eye gets turned towards yourself and you just burn a hole in your own heart, that is not making the most of the energy. The energy is best utilized when we make healthy choices, when we are in service to ourselves and others, when we come in with humble respect and go, I love you, self. How can I help you be happy? How can I help you be healthy? Right? Coming from a place of being helpful. And if, like I said, a lot of you guys are going through situations in which you need to be helpful to yourselves instead of pouring so much energy into other people. So while the sun moves through your 10th house, you are going to be thinking about those personal and professional connections. You are going to be thinking about your emotional health, and you may feel quite challenged by the people in your life. You're either going to love the people in your life or hate the people in your life, and maybe not much in between. And these realizations are going to help you make some healthy choices. So don't be afraid to be a healthy level of selfish. If you put your needs first, see how that would change your choices. The answers might be right there. And then Venus moves into Libra. For you guys, that's going to be your 11th house. So at the very end of August, Venus is going to bring sweetness into your community. So that would translate in a way of like finding new friends, finding a new sense of belonging, finding purpose in art or music or charity, really infusing a beautiful sense of transcendence and meaningfulness back into your life. So if things feel empty, if things feel devoid of spirit or magic or fun, take your awesome sparkly self and move along to somewhere where you are welcomed and loved and appreciated. There's no sense in wasting your time in a stagnant pool of unhealthy connections, right? Okay, thank you so much for being here. Oh, I forgot to say, when Mercury goes direct on August 28th, it's going to unlock your belief system. It's going to unlock possibilities for you, and you're going to be able to prove to yourself that life still can surprise you in the best possible way. So please, please, please be willing to try something new. And yeah, like I said, be willing to take your sparkle where it is appreciated. Mwah! I hope you guys have an amazing couple of weeks. I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye. Capricorn Sun and Capricorn Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We have a Sun Mercury Cazimi in your 8th house today, and so something is going to click for you when it comes to the repeating patterns in your life. Now, these might be karmic patterns, generational curses, it could be financial difficulties like debt. But something massive is going to click for you this week, and the more willing you are to kind of take a step back and see the bigger picture, the more capable you will be at realizing how amazing this new information is. So definitely try your best to see things differently, and it does feel like laughter is going to be the pathway to seeing things differently. Be willing to laugh at yourself. Be willing to laugh at your choices. Be willing to laugh at your circumstances or the absurdity of humanity in general, because sometimes we can get quite heavy and discouraged, and if we're too heavy, that leads to despair. So if you want to tap into new opportunities, be willing to laugh at yourself. There's going to be a full moon in your 2nd house on Monday. So there's an opportunity to reach a peak understanding when it comes to recognizing the results of your efforts, starting to see some sort of tangible return for your time and your energy. Or it could also be realizing that you've hit your limit when it comes to how you spend your time and your energy. A full moon is a time of peaking something out, a peak realization or a peak that leads to an ending. And in your 2nd house of finances, values, and resources, you're going to see your values very clearly, and you may be realizing that you are done putting your energy into something, or maybe you're done spending money on something. But as much as you can, closing the door on anything that doesn't serve your highest good or anything that doesn't align with your values, that is the key to being able to move forwards during this quality of time. Now, Jupiter and Mars are conjunct in your 6th house, encouraging you to completely brainstorm a new approach when it comes to your daily routines. Now, it doesn't mean literally changing everything, but it means that if you are willing to try something new, you can make profound leaps and bounds, big growth opportunities when it comes to your physical health, your mental health, your daily job, or something about your life or your routines that's gotten stale or stagnant. So basically, you are invited to switch things up, do things a little bit differently, especially if your mental health is starting to suffer, especially if your physical health is not doing well. And a big thing that's tying into whatever's happening for you on a daily basis is the ways in which you are locked into your beliefs about yourself or other people. So what's happening is Venus is currently in your 9th house, and that means that you are softening up your headspace. You're starting to think about things differently. You're really wanting to love yourself more, or be gentle or more graceful in your life. And you're starting to come to the realization that maybe you need something to change. But Saturn in your 3rd house means that your immediate environment is somehow keeping you locked in. Maybe you want to change, but you just don't have the words to say it. And so reality keeps playing out. Or maybe you're like so ready to be done, but the people in your life need you, and so you're bound by duty and responsibility. You're having a hard time bridging the gap between all that you believe and all that you want and all that you imagine, and yet your 3rd dimensional reality seems to be quite sticky, and you can't quite get your feet out of the cement, right? So the key to unlocking that is focus on your own happiness, focus on being the healthiest individual you can, and don't be afraid to reclaim your energy from any connections, personal or professional, that are just not returning the investment. And then when the sun moves into Virgo, we're going to have quite the planetary party in your 9th house. And again, your craving for things to be different is going to be through the roof. You're going to be so done, so done and so over it when it comes to your third dimensional reality. The circles you keep getting stuck in, the routines you keep playing out. You guys of all zodiac signs are going to be craving something new and something different in a big way. And it really is that feeling of being done that leads to inevitable change. It does take a while to start formulating the steps in between that are going to get us there, but the realization and the idea becomes a seed, and that seed just starts to grow inside of your mind, right? So as much as you can, whatever seed is growing in your mind, feed it with curiosity and try and avoid the desire for certainty, or try and avoid critical, negative, serious thinking, because that's going to keep you stuck. But if you keep asking yourself, I wonder why I feel this way, or I wonder what opportunities might come out of this, or approach with curiosity, and it's going to keep the wheels turning, and it's going to keep you on the right path. Pluto in your 2nd house is again reinforcing that your third dimensional reality feels quite restrictive and limiting. But Neptune in your 3rd house is inviting you to speak your dreams, draw them, write them, sing about them, because the more that you let your heart sing, the more that you let your soul call into being the reality that you want, it will pull it towards you. And so that's your biggest challenge over the next couple of weeks, is balancing your dreams versus reality, because reality is going to feel heavy, but your dreams are just dying to be expressed. So see what you can do to keep that curiosity alive. That's going to be your pathway to breakthroughs. And then Venus moves into Libra at the end of the month, bringing amazing financial opportunities. So this is where, if you stay curious and stay open and be willing to jump on any opportunities that come your way, when Venus moves into Libra, that activates your 10th house of career, long-term possibilities, all those big goals that you set for yourself. Venus moving into your 10th house brings beautiful money to your profession, to your career. It could be a promotion, it could be a raise, it could be maybe a new opportunity that pays way better and has benefits. So stay curious, stay open. Don't self-sabotage by saying, oh, it's not possible, I have to do this, la 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 la. Stay curious. Let life surprise you, because towards the end of August, huge potential for magic happening. And then when Mercury goes direct on August 28th, it's going to activate your 8th house. So there's an opportunity to shift your relationship with either debt or responsibilities, allowing yourself permission to change your choices and change your life. So yeah, like I said, stay curious. I hope you guys have an amazing couple of weeks. I will see you in 2 weeks at the new moon. Mwah. Aquarius sun and Aquarius rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We've got a full moon in your sign this week, so definitely of all 12 zodiac signs, you guys are going to be the most supercharged with magical potential and opportunities. The only problem is that there's a whole lot of stress and conflict energy in the air. So you might even feel like self-isolating. You might even kind of hit your limit with like other people and just be like, whatever, I'm going to spend the day by myself. What we've got this weekend is a Cazimi, and a Cazimi is an Arabic word for in the heart of the sun. What that means is that Mercury and the sun are in the exact same spots this weekend, and so there is an energy of everybody across the board being a little bit stuck in their heads and a little bit stuck in their ways. It's a double influence of Leo. Leo is pride, Leo is ego, Leo is identity. And so all across the board, everyone is going to be so locked into being proud of their identity, or proud of what they believe, or proud of what they think, to the point where challenging someone on what they believe or what they think is going to be perceived as a personal threat. Long story short, nobody's in the mood to have conversations outside of their own understanding, and attempting to do so is more likely going to be met with conflict than anything else. So there is an energy right now with the Cazimi being in your 7th house. You may be perceiving other people as being locked in their ways, stuck in their pride and ego, and the Cazimi is forming a square that's a challenging angle to Uranus in your 4th house. And so it's going to be the kind of thing where you observe other people's behavior and you go, WTF, this does not feel right to me. What's going to bother you the most is observing people who claim to be of values, but making choices or engaging in behaviors that do not reflect values at all. When people are full of shit, but think that they're God's gift to humanity, you're gonna wanna like say your bit, right? And unfortunately, this is just not the week to do it. People are going to respond like brick walls. It is not a time to be making much progress. Definitely go check out the general overview at the beginning of this video if you haven't already, because they do talk a lot about that and about this energy of conflict. The idea is that what is most important is that we align with our values. And it's going to be really, really easy to get sucked into drama or arguments or conflict, but that is a waste of energy. It's absolutely a waste of energy. If you want to reach a place of understanding and connection with people, honestly, the best time to do that would be at least a week from now, if not longer. When Mercury goes direct at the end of August, it's going to be a lot easier to feel like we've been understood. But right now, because Mercury is retrograde and it's a full moon on Monday, misunderstandings across the board. So definitely save your sanity and save your energy. The idea, though, is that one of the concepts being shared, you know, in a lot of social circles on social media is the concept of, yes, cool, you can have your own opinions, you can have your own beliefs, you can vote, for example, however you want, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is when your beliefs or when your choices threaten the well-being of other people. When your choices and your beliefs take away the rights from other people, then we've got a problem. And so even if usually you are just somebody who kind of sits back and doesn't engage, and maybe usually you're pretty chill, you are going to want to leap out of your chair if you see issues around topics such as human rights, morals, decency, being an evolved human being, right? You're going to hit that point where you're like, enough's enough. Let me tell you what I think about that, right? But like I said, unfortunately, Mercury retrograde is going to make it so if people don't want to hear it, they're not going to hear it. They're not going to listen. And if you try and challenge someone's beliefs, they're going to take it as a challenge to their existence. And it's just going to be a whole mess of trouble. So like I said, wait a week or two before you try and have any heavy conversations with people. In this particular situation, self-isolation might be the most peaceful and safe option that you have available to yourself. Jupiter and Mars are conjunct in Gemini. That is another air sign just like yourself. And so you are feeling profoundly empowered right now, and this is even more of a boost. And because Jupiter and Mars are conjunct in your 5th house, it's going to be easier for you to advocate for yourself. It's going to be easier for you to stand up for yourself or stand up for somebody else, right? But the fine line is getting really serious and angry versus knowing when to laugh and walk away. One of my favorite things to happen in the last couple of weeks is using the word weird to describe people who are racist and homophobic. It is incredibly effective. You know, in the past, we could use 1,000 words to tell somebody why they are not being a morally decent human being, and it just didn't get through. But for some reason, in the past couple of weeks, calling people who are racist or homophobic, calling them weird, is profoundly effective. And that's the thing, right? So for you guys, it might be about changing your strategy. It might be about learning how to either be creative or laugh it off or just don't take it seriously, whatever, right? And that's the thing, as much as you can, change your approach in a way that helps you maintain inner peace and helps you be a healthy, happy, evolved human being, right? You may find on some level you're getting sucked into the drama, and you definitely don't want to lower your vibration or meet someone at their level if it's not the level of connection that you would like to see, right? So Jupiter and Mars in your 5th house are kind of the apex, connecting the opposition between Venus in your 8th and Saturn in your 2nd. Saturn in your 2nd is making you feel extremely serious about your value system, and anybody who's observing the world right now should feel very serious about their value systems. However, we can't drown underneath a dark cloud like Eeyore. We have to find ways to enlighten, empower, or uplift whenever possible. And that opportunity is coming to you through Venus's energy in your 8th house. When you see repeating patterns, your sign out of all 12 zodiac signs has a better ability to rise above. You have a better ability to remain emotionally detached and observe without absorbing. It is quite possible that your peaceful energy is going to be beneficial to somebody else who is deeply engrossed in some sort of conflict or challenge. You may find yourself being able to step in as a mentor, as an observer, as a voice of reason, right? But again, you want to just kind of touch in with that peace and then take a step back. You don't want to get sucked into direct conflict or battles. Your ability to see and recognize and observe patterns is going to come in especially handy this week. And especially when the sun moves into Virgo, it's a bit of a packed house in your 8th house in astrology right now. And the 8th house is about karma, life, death, rebirth. Everything for you is going to feel like a life or death situation. There's going to be profundity, but also opportunities for magic and realizations. So that's where, as much as you can, try not to get sucked into the emotions of despair or isolation or giving up on hope, things like that. Where there's a will, there's always a way. And especially over the last few weeks, it's been freaking amazing just watching how things have been playing out, letting life surprise us, seeing what kind of curveballs come through from the universe, right? So as much as you can, believe in yourself, believe in magic, believe in possibilities, and an approach with curiosity. Because you guys live in a place of certainty, you are a fixed air sign. That is your vibration coming in with certainty and clarity and offering facts. And that's actually not going to fly right now. You have to come in with curiosity. You have to come in being willing to learn or willing to observe or willing to let life surprise you. And that's where you're going to find the keys to unlock any challenges that you find yourself stuck in. With the sun being in your 8th house in Virgo, starting at the end of August, moving into September, it is going to kind of polarize how you are striving for your ideals, but in a lot of ways you feel very limited, very restricted, and even depressed about everything that is so heavy right now, right? But seeing yourself as an eternally evolving human being is going to help you a lot to remember this too shall pass. It will, I promise. This too shall pass. Venus in your 8th house is that awareness of repeating patterns and karma. And if you're not careful, you can get quite stuck in feelings of depression and powerlessness. However, with Mars and Jupiter in your 5th house, you are encouraged on a daily basis to come back to a place of laughter, a place of joy, a place of patience and peace. Please be a healthy level of selfish. Please clear your schedule every now and then and go get a coffee and watch the world go by or whatever it is. Take time for yourself so that you don't always feel as though you are beholden to other people or a slave to the routine, or feeling like time isn't even yours. As much as you can, reclaim your relationship with time. Fuel or feed your inner child, nurture your inner child. You could take a day off and watch The Price is Right all day, you know what I mean? Pluto TV is actually a free website where you can watch even the old episodes or the new episodes of Price is Right. Anyway, lots of cool resources out there. Nurture your inner child. Don't give up on yourself or life. Where there's a will, there's a way. And laughter is going to be key, especially in the face of seriousness and adversity. So yeah, Venus moves into Libra towards the end of the month, and that is another air sign just like yourself. And so there's going to be this beautiful trifecta of Venus in Libra, Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, and here you are in Aquarius. So that's an air sign trifecta. It's an opportunity to finally feel like things are moving smoothly. Finally moving through life with grace and ease, whether it be problem solving, looking after yourself, tending to your responsibilities. Towards the end of August, finally things are going to smooth out. So trust me, this too shall pass. Keep laughing, keep moving. And then August 28th, Mercury goes direct in your 7th house. So if you have to have an important meeting, if you have to have an important conversation in which communication is key, especially if there is a high likelihood of misunderstandings or conflict, please save it for when Mercury goes direct at the end of the month, because Mercury is in your 7th house of communications and connections with one-on-one relationships. So again, this would refer to anyone who's super close to you personally or professionally. You want to make sure that everybody feels understood. And so if understanding is an essential component to an important conversation, excuse me, wait until at least August 28th, and then everybody's going to feel like they got to say their piece. All right, I hope you guys have an amazing couple weeks. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you at the new moon in 2 weeks. Mwah. Pisces Sun and Pisces Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We have a Cazimi today, which is the Sun and Mercury in the exact same spot, and they are hanging out together in the sign of Leo. For you guys, that's your 6th house, which means that there is an opportunity for you to have like a light bulb moment when it comes to your day-to-day activities. It could be your day job, it could be healthy habits, it could be mental health, physical health, but something about your daily routines and the little meticulous details in which your life plays out. There's an opportunity for a light bulb moment. It could be maybe working with your schedule in a way that maybe you're managing time better, maybe you're managing your resources better, maybe you think of some sort of a side hustle to increase your income potential, something like that. And especially if you are looking for new money-making opportunities, that is one of the highlights this week. Expanding your horizons personally or professionally, because Uranus is in your 3rd house, offering you an opportunity to switch things up when it comes to your personal or professional connections. And the 3rd house has a direct link to if you are self-employed, if you have a business or your own little side gig. And so with the Sun and Mercury forming this Cazimi in your 6th house, there's an opportunity for you to shift something that you do on a daily basis to make room for better connections, to make room for your business to succeed, or maybe just to expand your friendship circle, right? But you also have to be willing to do things differently. So if you're a creature of habit, this is your wake-up call to just do something, anything slightly differently. And also, if you have a really hard time making time for social opportunities, you can call up another parent or another friend and be like, I don't have time to hang out, but I do have time to go to the grocery store. You want to go to the store together, you know what I mean? We could get a coffee and talk about life, right? So yeah, the full moon, there's a full moon on Monday, and it's in Aquarius, and it's activating your 12th house. So there's also a light being shown on something that is kind of in the deep, dark recesses of your mind. It could be a secret, a mystery. It could be a spiritual realization. It could be some sort of a dream that blows your mind. But Monday offers an opportunity to shine a light on whatever skeletons are hiding in your closet, or whatever dreams you've had a hard time actualizing. You know, the oppressive reality of everything that we have to do every day to literally just stay alive and pay the bills, it doesn't often leave room for creativity. It doesn't often leave room for having social connections or doing things just for fun. And that's kind of what you're craving and what you're missing. So this week offers an opportunity to see things in a different light and switch up your choices, your routines, things like that, to really bring some more joy and more possibility into your life. Now, Jupiter and Mars are conjunct in Gemini, activating your 4th house, really kind of stirring up the dust within your heart space. So if your heart feels stale and stagnant, if you're struggling with emotional exhaustion, or also if your literal home is really frustrating you in any way, whether it's the physical space you live in or the people that you share it with, there is an energy of freshness and newness in your 4th house. So that's your heart and that's your literal home. And so again, here we see an indication that taking action, trying something new, switch things up, brainstorm, you know what I mean? Like call a friend, go for a walk, go for a little road trip. These are the things that are gonna help you feel like something has shifted. If you are stuck in a rut, changing who you hang out with, maybe changing how you dress, things like that. Sometimes the slightest little adjustments can make a world of difference. So that's really what you're invited to do. It's not so much about sweeping changes as it is about micro adjustments that lead to big changes. And then when the sun moves into Virgo, it's going to be a 1 month period of having the sun shine a light on the people who are closest to you in your life. The 7th house is one-on-one relationships. It could be a bestie, a lover, a roommate, a coworker, a boss. But those one-on-one connections in which the connection becomes deeper, you start to know each other quite well in the context of that relationship. The sun is shining a light on those relationships, and being in Virgo is inviting you to think about, are these connections healthy? And within the context of this connection, do I feel free to be me? Or am I working? If you're a helper, if you're a healer, if you're someone who just automatically is in service to other people, you might have a kind of month where you take a step back and you realize, wait a minute, all these people only want to be friends with me because I'm working in this relationship. I am offering myself in service to them. And then you're going to go, does it get returned? Is there any reciprocity here? Wait a minute. So if on any level you feel resentful or burnt out or tired, these are going to be the realizations shown to you. And then from that information, you have to kind of make a decision about, okay, is there room for me to maybe kind of take a step back and let the other person return the favor? Or is this precedent that's been set, is this permanent? Is this how it's always going to be? So you might have a lot of feelings around this. I do caution you against using words such as always or never. I always do this, they never do this. It might be true, but usually 9 times out of 10, such extreme words reflect extreme thinking, but not necessarily an accurate assessment of the reality that we're in. Now, while the sun moves through your 7th house, like I said, for a month during Virgo season, it's going to be kind of creating a bit of friction with Pluto in your 12th house. So again, if you find that you're feeling a bit resentful within your relationships or within your life, what's going to be triggered is Pluto in your 12th house, activating any deep-seated insecurities that you have, any inner beliefs about, well, they're only friends with me because I do things for them. And then if I don't do things, what if I don't have friends, right? Have you convinced yourself that things have to be this way? And if so, is that a reality? Maybe if those people use you, it might be a reality in the context of that situation, but you, my friend, are unconditionally lovable. And so if you're in a situation where the love you're receiving is conditional, that is not a healthy relationship. You can take your awesome self and you can go somewhere else where love becomes unconditional, right? We always have choices, but sometimes it's a hard thing to see the choices and to see where maybe we are contributing to feeling stuck, or maybe we're contributing to imbalance simply because we continue participating, right? And the other thing is that Neptune is chilling in your first house. So even though there's a bit of heaviness, there's also this bluebird of happiness in your heart of hearts that's telling you that things don't always have to be this way, that you can make changes, that you are unconditionally lovable. And if somebody doesn't really appreciate you, see you later, bye, go somewhere else, right? So it is that balance between hope and despair. So as much as you can, if you find yourself getting into a dark, stuck place, shake your body, dance yourself around, shift your vibe, and see if you can tap back into the ideals in your heart, right? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. Basically, heavy emotions are one of the biggest things that you have to contend with. Please do be careful the stories you attach to those big emotions, because emotions can come and go, right? Throughout the day, we're going to have a million different emotions. But if you attach a story to it, you're going to start repeating that story to yourself, and you're going to get stuck in that emotion for hours or days or months at a time. So if you can take the story out of it and just feel the feeling, let it come through, and then release it, you'll move through these challenging experiences way faster. And then, yeah, the Venus moves into Libra towards the end of the month, activating your 8th house. So it should bring relief from any shared financial situations, whether you're struggling with a partner or a roommate over shared commitments like bills or responsibilities, or if you're struggling with debt, if you're struggling with some sort of repeating pattern or energetic situation. When Venus moves into your 8th house at the end of August, it's going to provide a huge amount of relief for your mental health, for your spirit, for your physical health, and for any connections that you have, personal or professional. It's going to make it way easier to move through any big emotions, and it's going to make it way easier to try something new and to switch things up. And then on August 28th, Mercury goes direct, bringing relief to your daily life, helping you feel as though those day-to-day activities are finally moving smoothly with either little or no obstacles. You might find that money starts coming in more easily and things like that. So definitely things are smoothing out across the board at the end of the month. So love yourself unconditionally. Remember that if things are conditional, it's not love. And you have every right to set boundaries, to say no, and walk away. Mwah! Thank you for being here, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks at the new moon. Bye.